Motion to open.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you everyone for coming tonight. We have a pretty packed agenda. So I'm going to go right to public comment. The board will entertain public comment 3 minutes at a time. If you come up, please state your name and your address. Do you have any public comment? Come on up.
Right here?
Yep, come up right up here.
Hi, I'm Sarno, and I live at 2 Johnson Lane, right here in Byfield. I'm a business teacher at Whittier Tech, and I want to come tonight to remember the importance that Whittier Tech holds to our community. I'm sure you all realize how hard it is to find a tradesperson, plumber, electrician, HVAC person to come to your home to do repairs. Personally, the repairs that have been done in my home have been done by a Whittier Tech grad. Even my hairdresser had attended the night program at Whittier Tech. The facilities team at our school does a really good job keeping our building neat and clean, but it is clear there are issues. I urge you and the whole community to see the value that Whittier Tech brings to our community and to our economy. College is out of reach for a lot of people because of the cost, but if you've been trained in a trade, it's a clear pathway to success. The students at Whittier Tech deserve a school that has reliable electricity and heat and don't have to worry about rainwater coming in and damaging their classrooms and shop equipment. The cost of the new school is high, but my fear is that if we don't take action now, it will only get higher. Let's make the right decision for our community and our students at Whittier Tech. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul DeBenedictis, and I live at 1 Rear Central Street in Byfield. I've been a 20-year townie. I've seen a lot of things go really well in this community. It really is a great community to be a part of. I teach at Whittier Tech. I am the collision repair teacher. During my time as a vocational instructor over the last 7 years, it is clear the new building will be fiscally responsible thing for Newbury. If the new building does not pass, the district will be required to do a legally required code upgrade. We could not have our Newbury students learning in an environment that does not meet building codes. Building a new school will save 11 cities and towns approximately $100 million. The district is receiving approximately $165 million from the MSBA. I have also learned that some of our district cities and towns are asking Whittier School Committee not to move forward with a district-wide vote, but preferring a district to seek approval going town to town, city to city, and securing a depth exclusion in all 11 cities and towns. This would have to pass unanimously. That is 22 separate approvals. We all know that is not the way that Whittier Tech project would be able to move forward. This would kill the project. How the district seeks approval from the project, a 50-year-old regional agreement, will not change the facts that we have proven as a distraction. Whittier Tech is a 50-year-old building, and its systems and much structure have reached their useful life. I ask you, the town selectmen of Newbury, to support this project. Not supporting this project will only get more expensive, take longer to complete, and not give our Newbury students the state-of-the-art infrastructure that they deserve. We cannot put this off any longer. Please stand with us for the future of our kids. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Travis Madden. I live at 185 Orchard Street in Byfield. And I've been a Byfield resident my entire life. I'm also a math teacher in my second year at Whittier Tech. My dad, uncle, cousin, all graduated from Whittier, and now they work as a carpenter, a plumber, and a sprinkler fitter in the surrounding towns. I'm here tonight to impress upon the select board how the future of Whittier Tech is important to our community's workforce. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to express my opinion on the project. You may not have a family member attending Whittier, but everyone is still in need of skilled workers in the trades or the service industry, such as plumbers, electricians, carpenters, mechanics, or CNAs, just to name a few. Whittier Tech produces professionals to fill these important roles. Whittier's facility is in need of serious repair. As a second-year teacher, I can only speak to my own experiences in the current building. Some of the conditions of the school are difficult for students and staff to be productive. This September, the temperature of my classroom on the 4th floor rose to 85 degrees for several days straight. Even my own classroom isn't meant to be an actual classroom. It's a repurposed teacher's lounge with different types of flooring, an insufficient amount of power outlets, and there's still a payphone on the wall. Constructing a new building will save the 11 cities and towns approximately $100 million as opposed to the legally required code upgrade. As a resident, I want to stress that a new building will cost less than to renovate the current building and also be less disruptive to our students' learning environment. I hope the residents of Byfield and Newbury support our source of vocational education. I ask you, the select board, and the residents to please support this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Bud Kelly, 24 School Street. I have no affiliation to Whittier High School or Regional Vocational Technical High School. My mother was on the school committee back in the 80s for about 15 years for Whittier, as well as the town of Newbury. I employ Whittier graduates, so I am very familiar with what they do and what they fill. I'm also a property manager, so I touch on a lot of different trades, and the trades are suffering tremendously. Whittier offers a great opportunity for kids to get started without having to go to college. So I don't know where this is all gonna fall, but I just was listening and I felt compelled to say something.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment tonight? Are you here for public comment, sir?
Oh. I was gonna sit over there, but. Thank you.
Can you come on up?
Just a quick question.
Can-
Are there gonna be opportunities
I-
to speak before this vote in January about this project in another forum?
Not that I'm aware of. So, if you have a public,
That's the session at the
We don't have
library
a public
coming up,
session
isn't there?
coming up?
Maureen, can you answer that question?
Sure, Thursday at 7 o'clock at Whittier Tech, there'll be a public forum about the building project.
Thank you. Okay,
Was there a public forum set to be held at Unity in our house at one time? Where did it go?
It was canceled. It's a very long story, but we set up another public forum on Thursday at Whittier Tech.
we can cover that when we get to the Whittier. Okay, so, seeing no more public comment. We have board and committee reports. I signed the PR 2408 and the 2409 for Julie O'Brien, and the 2408 for the select board. Grants, gifts, and donations, we have a council on aging donation for Alba Goldthorpe, $30. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the donation from Albert Goldthorpe for $30.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We have a public hearing slated at 7:15, so I'm going to just pull up a couple of things before that and try to get it off of our plate for tonight. We have a request for public property use. There was a typo in our agendas. It's the Newburyport Choral Society. It's a banner from November 25th to December 10th. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, is there anybody here from the Newburyport Choral Society? Okay,
I have attended many,
yeah,
and they
fabulous. Okay,
Just pointing at me.
That's right.
I'm
Well,
actually
this-
not singing this semester, but I can.
but this
I
is
can
Newburyport.
speak to- It's new,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
Newburyport, so
She
they
has
have
sung
done this
forever.
banner on the backstop many times, and Ralph Johnson actually asked if I might be able to say something tonight, just to reinforce the request to do this. So they have a new music director, who's a professor at Gordon College. Apparently she's doing a great job. They're singing songs from all around the world, and it'll be a great concert.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. I have another request for public property use at the Congregational Church Fair. It's a banner from November 15th to November 24th. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Is there anybody here from the Congregational Church Fair? Okay. Any discussion on this? The other one, this is gonna come down right before the other one will go up. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. 3 minutes. We have some appointments. We have a new fire chief, as everybody is aware. We'd like to appoint him to the 3 committees here, the Municipal Vulnerability Task Force through June 24th. He appoint him as the Deputy Emergency Management Director on till June 2025, and as the Forest Warden through June of 2026. So I'll entertain a motion for that.
Motion to appoint and congratulations.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No opposed, the ayes have it. Okay, we have a new business license for Katie Smith, Total Eclipse Tattoo, 65 Newburyport Turnpike in Newbury for body art. Is there a motion?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Is Katie here? Come on up, Katie. 2 minutes, honey.
Hi, my name is Katie, and I worked with Elise Kay, who is already a licensed artist working in Newbury. She is the owner and operator of Blossom Boarding. She's back here.
Do you want to come up with her?
Sure.
Thank you for operating your business in Newbury.
Can't believe it's been 2 years since I did this.
So I've been working with her for almost a year now, and I've completed my apprenticeship through her, and I've done over 11 months in the shop time, which is around over 2,000 hours, as well as the allotted 100 plus tattoos on people to complete this first step of my apprenticeship. So now that I'm here, I would like to do it right and apply for my license and business share, and my goal is to work underneath her as an independent contractor, because I really want to continue working in Newbury, because I really enjoy it here.
Great, well, thank you. It's nice to hear. Is there any questions from the board?
We've already seconded it, right? So this is
We're in
discussion.
discussion.
I just wanna say, I really appreciate the supporting documents. It makes my job a lot easier.
Thank you.
And I just wanna say, from what I can see, I'd say that you're probably totally qualified to do this, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, 7:15. So I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Leslie, could you read the notice, please?
Yes.
Legal notice, Town of Newbury Select Board. In accordance with Chapter 369, Acts of 1982, Section 1, the Select Board of the Town of Newbury will hold a public hearing on the determination of the percentage of tax levy to be borne by each class of real property for fiscal year 2024. Hearing is to be held on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 7:15 PM at Newbury Municipal Offices, second floor hearing room, 12 Kent Way, Byfield, Massachusetts.
Thank you. I see Jason is, our assessor is already here. How are you?
Good evening, everybody. Have you had a chance to review the tax rate analysis report I prepared?
I have.
Okay, wonderful. Let me just breeze over a couple things in here and then I can get right to it and not take up too much of your time. So as you just said, the purpose of this, the classification hearing, is for the select board to determine the allocation of property taxes to be borne on the 4 classes of real property and personal property for the fiscal year of 2024. In deciding this allocation, the select board must adopt a residential factor, and the residential factor is used to determine the percentage of tax levy that is applied to each class of real and personal property. The Board of Assessors applies these percentages to the individual property classes. So in determining this, we really have to look at what the value of the community is and how much we've grown and what the total levy is going to be. So on page 4, the new growth has been on an incline since 2019. This year, we capped about $266,000, and that allows us to grow the levy capacity of the community on an annual basis. The total taxable value of the community actually is going up at a pretty high rate. We saw on average about 17.3%. So you see the total value of the community just under $2.6 billion, $2,599,973,000 and change. Once we're able to get that number and have the estimated levy of the community, which you can see on page 5, which I estimated at $19,975,000, we're able to really back into a tax rate that way. So, we run 2 separate things, the budget and the values come out. And so what that has done is estimated our tax rate to drop from the current 867 down to 768. What that means with the increase in values is that the average property tax bill will rise about $242. That is lower than what I've seen in other communities, but right in line for what Newbury has done in the previous years. On page 6, you can see the options should you decide to shift the tax rate, though the board's recommendation is to maintain a uniform single rate and not shift it. What would happen and the repercussions on the commercial, industrial, and personal property average bills and how much actual savings it would be to the average single-family bill. The other options are for an open space discount of up to 25%. Newbury currently does not have any property designated as open space, so any discount would be null anyhow. The other 2 options that you have are for a residential exemption, and the board may select a residential exemption of up to 35%. And the shift is within the residential class. So basically what it does is it reallocates the burden within the residential class from the less expensive homes onto the more expensive homes. And you can see the example of what would happen. A shift of choosing a 35%, you would shift maybe an additional $1,300 onto from the average single family of $843,000 onto a property worth at $1.24 million. So they're already paying more, so then they would pay an additional amount. The board also does not recommend adopting a residential factor. And the last option that you would have would be a small commercial exemption. As we discussed, Newbury is mostly residential, so the small commercial exemption would be of no benefit to the community, and the board also does not recommend adopting that. Before I get into anything else, is there any questions that you have for me on anything that you were able to review?
Thank you, Jason. I'll ask the board.
The open space decision, can you just explain a little more about that?
So open space is property that would not qualify or would not currently be classified under Chapter 61, 61A, 61B, which are Mass General Law properties that are either, 5 acres plus and are given actually a bigger discount than the open space. But if we decide to come up with a parameter for somewhere between 2 and 5 acres that would reserve the land for, certain purposes, we would classify that. It's very underutilized in the, throughout Massachusetts. Even if people do come up with the parameters, there is really nobody that is giving it an open space discount.
Thank you.
Bill?
It's not a question but a statement. If this gets passed by the board tonight and passed by the government, Massachusetts, the rate would be $7.68.
That's what I'm projecting to be based on that current levy. My values have been certified, but we have not been approved with everything. We have to
Right,
submit them.
right.
Yeah.
Just for interest's sake, the last time the tax rate in this town was under $8 was in 1989. That was
I believe you're right, I looked, it wasn't-
34 years
yeah.
ago.
I was looking at my wall. I think that's about how long it's been.
So it's not a question, it's a statement.
Thank you. Leslie, do you have any questions? No?
I'm just gonna add on to what Bill said. But there's a lot of time that's gone by and the increase in property has escalated to points where we've never seen before. And so seeing these kind of numbers right now feels a lot better than 10-something.
You got that right. Jeff? Okay. I just wanted, I do wanna make that one comment that although the tax rate is low, assessed values are going up, but, it helps us all to have, we all wanna see our home values go up.
So, if there's no other questions, would I?
Before I do that, I'm gonna, I just have to go through this thing here first, so, is there any have we received any written correspondence on this, Julie? No, regarding this, okay. Is there any public comment, somebody from the public would like to come up and speak about this, because it's a public hearing? Okay. So, next, I guess, does the board have any further discussion? No? Okay, so you need,
So what I was just gonna say is that there's been a slight change of procedure at the Department of Revenue where we no longer have to authorize Tracy to sign the LA5. What we need is, it'll actually be Gretchen who will affirm this, certify this. We just need a majority vote on each item individually.
okay,
So that's,
okay, so,
and it says at the bottom of page 7
yeah.
what our recommendations are. And
okay, so I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that the town of Newbury retain the uniform tax rate for fiscal year 2024, residential factor of 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. I'll entertain another motion.
I'll make the motion that the town of Newbury should have no open space discount.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Another motion?
I'll make the motion that the town of Newbury has no residential exemption.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Finally?
I guess I'll make the motion that there's no small commercial exemption.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
You don't need anything else for me to send anything to Gretchen or anything? All right. Thank you for your time. Okay. So next, item on the agenda, we have a change of manager for Plum Island Blue. Are they here?
yes.
Come on up.
Joseph Keefe, I live at 89 Mason Street in Salem, Mass. I am the area manager for Lark Hotels. We are the management company that oversee the property. We have a change in GM, and we are asking that my name goes on the license while we search for a long-term solution at the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions before you sit down?
Sorry.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the change of manager for the Plum Island Blue.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? Any questions of the applicant?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Dana? Neither do I. All in,
Quick question, just for clarification. So you're just an interim until you find somebody to take over as the
Correct.
position?
Correct, yes. So my whole area is North Shore, so I'll be spending 2 days a week at that property while we find a long-term GM, in which case we'll then put them on the license.
And is the GM still there, or has he,
The GM is no longer there now.
and how long has he been gone?
A couple of weeks. October 1st, I wanna say.
A little over a month.
Yes,
So you've been operating without, an actual person on the license?
correct, yes. I believe my office reached out right around that time, though. This has been in the works for a couple of weeks to get on, to get to this meeting, to get to here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you.
you very much.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have a presentation from Whittier.
Alicia, can I call?
Oh, yes. Before we start the presentation, we have the FinCom is here. I'd like the FinCom to open their meeting.
We have a quorum here, so if each of us just say our name to do a roll.
Patrick Heffernan.
Erica Coles Jacobson. Vanessa Rossi.
Richard Keys.
So we will open our meeting so that we can also ask questions and speak during the review portion. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is Maureen Lynch. She's the superintendent from Whittier.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm gonna start off with a video, and then I'll move forward with my presentation.
Oh. Thinking about it.
It worked perfectly during rehearsal.
Let's try again.
Just need something under the age of
Let's do it
25.
this way.
How about?
Here we go.
Because one, we're having a hard time staffing our projects right now, and we have a lot of people getting ready to retire. So within the next 5 years, we're probably gonna see a dip of 30% of our workforce across all crafts, not just laborers.
The benefits to the community is a workforce. You know, we have about 150 juniors and seniors out working right now.
Truly is training the future workers of America, and that's what we need. You can't find places nowadays, unfortunately, that have full complement of skilled workers.
The great thing about vocational technical education is that students can leave Whittier with not only their high school diploma, but their trade certificate, and they can go out and get good paying jobs. We really encourage our students in their junior and senior year to go out and co-op.
It is a wonderful opportunity for me because I get to learn so much and like really get the real experience of what it's going to be like even after I graduate from high school.
A kid that graduates from Whittier Tech can go right into the workforce. Also, a student that graduates from Whittier Tech can go right into higher education.
If you call an electrician, if you call a plumber, if you go get your hair styled, chances are very high it was a Whittier Tech grad. Our community is full of Whittier Tech pride and Whittier Tech professionals.
I've been in this building for over 20 years. It might look like it's a beautiful building, because it is, but when you get into the bones of the building and the insides of the building, it's rough.
It keeps me up at night. Recently, we lost electricity, we had flooding.
I think it was about 2 weeks ago, we had a flood down in the basement. I was absolutely panicking. You know, I had to let the superintendent and the principal know, hey, we got a problem downstairs. If I can't get this fixed, we might need to evacuate the school. Those things happen around here. And when those things happen, you can't have school. You can't give the kids the education they deserve.
It definitely is showing its age. There's times where heat and air conditioning just don't work, which make it environments unfit for learning.
I had a pipe burst over my locker, but it's okay.
The students and the instructors and the administration are doing the best they can with the building we have currently, but vocational education is only going to continue to grow, and we need to grow with that.
You cannot have Wi-Fi in this building. It just doesn't really work. So students aren't really being held to that 21st century technology standard.
When you go, you know, through the different systems and the codes and the fire codes and the emergency stuff, nothing is up to par.
We've been told by the city inspector that we are not allowed to do any more projects or renovations in this building until we put in a sprinkler system. We are not compliant with ADA compliance at all, and that hurts our kids and that hurts our staff. If the community does not believe that we need a new building, my job is to make sure they understand that we have to do something. Not doing anything is not an option. So really, it's a new building. We're gonna have to bring this current building up to code. And from what we've learned from the feasibility study is that that will be more expensive to the taxpayers in our district, with absolutely no reimbursement from the state.
We've seen little renovations that we've done over the years, and it's to the limit. We can't renovate anymore. It's impossible to do that, and it just keeps falling apart.
Needs to be redone, rebuilt. We need a new school.
The numbers are clear. It will cost the taxpayers of our district much more money to go with a renovation of this building and bring everything up to code versus a new building.
I feel like it's such an investment in our future, because a lot of these students and graduates, when they come out, they're gonna join the workforce in our community. They're either gonna start their own businesses, work for existing businesses.
The biggest thing I really want people to understand is that our kids deserve this. Our kids deserve to go to school in a quality building, that they're not concerned that there's no heat in their classroom, or their classroom's too cold, or that there's water. And these are some of the issues that our kids are dealing with right now, and it's not fair to them. We need to do better.
Thank you. So tonight, I have a few people that I'd like to introduce. I have Joanna True, representative from Newbury. Kara Cosmos, our business manager, could not make it today. She's ill, but I have David Sandin, our OPM from Left Field. I have Todd McCabe from Consigli, and I have Alicia Caratano from JCJ. I also have Bob Hardy, our facilities director, and he's gonna go through some of our other slides that we have tonight.
Well, we also have Jay Faxton.
Oh, Jay Faxton, sorry, Jay
Oh, yeah, I
Faxton
made
from
it.
Left Field. Right in time for public comment, but you missed it.
It's coming.
Next slide, please. So Whittier Tech was built in 1973. The first class that came through was in 1973. As you can imagine, the vocational world has changed significantly since then. Next slide. So, I want to start with this slide because I think it's important to know. Right now, and we'll know for sure the exact number tomorrow, but right now, a new school with reimbursement would be about $181. They have upped that reimbursement by $38 million in the end of October. So right now, the district share would be approximately $264 million for a new building. And to bring up the entire building up to code, right now would we anticipate about 364 million from the district. So Whittier Tech, you know, you've heard tonight a little bit about what we do. How many of you have ever been to Whittier Tech? So if you haven't been, I really strongly encourage you to come, because I don't think you really understand until you've actually walked the hallways and see what we do. But we are providing a workforce for this region. We have 23 vocational trade areas. We have 1,280 day students, but we are also train about 400 night school adult students. And then we also have our summer CTI program for adult learners, unemployed or underemployed individuals as well. So Whittier Tech is busy all day, all night, vacations, and through the summer. So these are some of our programs when we start at Whittier Tech started in 1973 to where we are now. You know, the bottom line, as I've said before, is for us to provide a workforce. If we have a program that students are not able to graduate from Whittier Tech and get good paying jobs, then those are programs that we need to look at because we're not doing our job then. So as you can see, there's been some changes in some of the vocational programs. So as you know, as time moves on, we want to make sure that we are also staying up to date with our trade programs. So these are just some pictures of 1973 to where we are now. Machine technology, advanced manufacturing, you know, that's the old drill press. Now all those advanced manufacturing, those are all computer based at this time. And they're very large machines. But if you are in advanced manufacturing and you graduate from Whittier Tech, you're probably making $25, $30 an hour when you're 17, 18 years old. This is boat building and marine technology. We used to have a boat building program. In the last 3 years, we've added marine technology because of the significant need in our region for people to be able to have their boats fixed. Most of the equipment that we've been able to have in that program have either been donated or received through a capital skills grant. The Marine Association has been amazing. Randall Lyons has done amazing work and has really tried to make sure that we have everything that we need so that when kids finish at Whittier Tech, that they're able to go right into the field. I say this every time just because I love this picture, but the student on the left looks like the teacher on the right. But he has told me that he was not born in 1973. Drafting and computer-aided design, you know, I think all of us in high school had those old drafting programs with the ruler and the tables and pencils. That's not how that work is done anymore. It's all really computerized. And as you heard a little bit about, our building was made of, you know, cement structure. It is really hard for us to have quality Wi-Fi in the building. I would say my CAD program probably struggles the most with computer issues that we have. So Whittier Tech through the years, it opened in 1973. The former superintendent in 2014, reached out to a company to kind of do its own feasibility study, not nearly as in-depth as what we've done recently, to just really take a look at our programming and to see what issues that we might have. And starting in 2016, we started submitting statements of interest. So we have submitted 6 statements of interest into MSBA. You know, when you finally get accepted into eligibility, so we were accepted into eligibility in 2021 during COVID, we thought we kind of hit the lottery. Like, this is the most amazing thing, you know. But then you realize, wait, we're probably one of the worst buildings in the state. That's why we've been invited into feasibility. But, you know, hopefully that this will help us in our community move forward with some significant funds to upgrade our building or have a new building. And then here we are in November 2023. So we finished schematic design the end of September. That's really when you find out your financials about where you're at. And, you know, immediately once we received those financials, we started working with our municipal town managers and mayors just to let them know the finances of the program. We will have final numbers, I think tomorrow, through the feasibility, through the schematic design and through the, with MSBA tomorrow. So existing conditions, I'm gonna have Bob Hardy, our facility maintenance person, talk a little bit about that.
Hello, thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Robert Hardy, I'm the facilities manager at Whittier Tech. And what we'll do, go through a few slides of some of the concerns we have at Whittier Tech. So what you see on the left-hand side of the photo there is, that is our library. It's an open area. It's really difficult to keep warm and to keep cool. But you can see in the background, we have cubbies over there that we had to put in our library for overflow for teachers and guidance counselors. On the right-hand side, we have the upper part of our auditorium. Not ADA compliant, as you see, all the lights are out up there because we have bad electrical up there, and it's really difficult to get up there to do any work. On the left-hand side of the photo there, we have our freight elevator and our passenger elevator. The passenger elevator, the furthest elevator in that photo to the right, not really ADA compliant. The door is really too small to get a wheelchair in there. And that elevator goes to the ground floor, second floor, third floor. Our main elevator in the main lobby does not go to the ground floor. This elevator you see there is at the other end of the school. So if you need to get to the ground floor in our school in a wheelchair, you have to go all the way across the school to get to this elevator. On the right-hand side, that is our auditorium entrance. You can see it's not ADA compliant. There's no ramp that's built in there. We have an aluminum ramp that we have to pull out to get anyone in a wheelchair up into the auditorium. If someone does show up in a wheelchair and we are not around, they have to go to the back of the auditorium, through 3 curtains, down a ramp that's not ADA compliant, and then up another ramp not ADA compliant to get to the auditorium. On the left-hand side and right-hand side in these photos, that's an open corridor area. We had to put some cubbies there for overflow for our medical center. We just didn't have enough room in our classroom, so we had cubbies added. But in both photos there, you see the glass. That glass, a lot of pieces of glass are cracked, and we cannot use that glass. I cannot replace the glass that's in there. I have to remove it all because it's not allowed anymore. It's wired glass. So on the left is a pump that is for our chiller system. We do have 8 pumps for our chiller at the school, but this particular pump is broken. These pumps are approximately 30 years old. I have to replace this pump, but usually when one pump goes, you know, the other ones aren't too far behind it. On the right-hand side, those are all original 50-year-old pneumatic controls for the school. The left-hand side, that is our sewer catch basin in the basement with grinder pumps. That is 50 years old. That is original to the school. On the right-hand side, we also have an original hand sink down in our ground floors that are still working to this day, but are original to the school. On the left, what we have is that is our generator house, but obviously there's a generator behind the doors there. The generator is too small to do all the emergency power that we really should have in the school. We have limited lighting off that generator, and we have 2 freezers and 2 refrigerators, and that's all that we can run off of that generator. The right-hand side is what we have is electrical panels that are in the hallway, which I feel are not safe to be in the hallway of a school. And there's a sub panel off of one of those panels, and I cannot add any more electrical into that school. We are to the max. So on the left, what you see there is we've had a lot of rain this year, but that is our west terrace. You can see the blowing up of the water through the catch basin. The catch basin couldn't handle the water, and that happens quite often during heavy storms. But what happens on the west terrace is it floods out, and the water backs against our gym wall. It does not flood into the gym, but what happens is it goes down the wall to our ground floor that floods our equipment room. So in heavy rains, or most of the times, we can't keep equipment in that room because it floods out and things get ruined down there. In the right-hand side, what you see is that is our HVAC and welding shops. That floods quite often in that area. And that's simply because if you look further deep into that photo, there's 2 doors. Those doors are about 4 feet below grade. There are drains out there, but during heavy rain, the drains can't handle the rainwater in those shops flood out. So on the left, that is a pneumatic compressor, and I always like to say that is the heartbeat of the school. That is 50 years old. That compressor controls our univent heaters, our clocks, and our thermostats. So off of that univent heater, you have hundreds and hundreds of rubber hoses that go through a school that's 360,000 square foot. When these hoses break or decay, we have to find where these breaks are to make sure the heat does not go full bore. When they break, the clock stop working, the thermostat stop working, and the heat just goes on full blast. If we can't find the breaks, if it's in a block wall, up in a ceiling, places I can't find it, what I have to do, and it's through the school in quite a few spots that we can't find these breaks. We have to physically go to the classroom, turn the heat on by breaker, let the classrooms warm up. Obviously, it gets a little too warm in there, we have to go back and shut them off by breaker. And we have to do this through the day, all through the winter time to make sure we have heat in the room. On the right-hand side, what we have, that is our west terrace. Those are right outside the Poets Inn. Those French doors are all rotted out, they all need to get replaced. And you can see the brick above it is all decaying and starting to fall apart. The left-hand side, that is our pump station down in the basement for groundwater. We get quite a bit of groundwater there, and we did have a lot of rain, so that pump has been going nonstop for quite some time. But in that room, that pump station, what you can't see in the right-hand side of that photo, that's a electrical substation. And I don't feel that that's too safe having groundwater and a substation in the same area. The right-hand photo, that is our wastewater treatment plant. That tank is rotted out and it is 50 years old and in desperate need of replacing all of the tanks down there. Thank you.
So how was this decision made? So, when you are accepted into MSBA's eligibility period, you have to look at three things. So you look at a code upgrade, a renovation and addition, and then a new building. And this is through the school building committee and through a comprehensive qualitative and quantitative analysis and looking at those multiple options. The committee determined that constructing a new facility would be the optimal and most cost-effective solution. So why was this chosen? A new building will allow the district to meet the vocational technical needs of all of our CTE programs. It would take approximately 3 years to build and have a minimum impact on student learning. The significant code upgraded, needed, and required by law would be more expensive, and there would not be any reimbursement from the state. A code upgrade would not change the overall layout of the building. A code upgrade would take approximately 10 years to complete and have a large impact on student learning and a large potential to increase in costs. As you know, when you start pulling apart walls and working on things, you find things that you didn't plan on, and that would be some of our concern. So the design, this is the building, if built, would be built behind our current stadium. And it is set up like a W. There's been some question about whether this cost more. No, it just sort of ironically ended up being a W and somebody noticed it and we're like, wow. But really when we were working through this, it was the two courtyards. So this allows our auto tech, our marine tech, our auto body collision programs to have some garage space, as well as our carpentry, our masonry programs. So this just allows us to have some outdoor space to work through some of the programs. This is the main entry view, the lower entry view, the customer entry view. How many of you had lunch at the Poets Inn? Oh, if you haven't, you gotta do that. So we have a wonderful culinary restaurant program. Actually, I had the Thanksgiving buffet today. Thanks a lot, everybody. But we would really want this to really be our community center. We have a hair salon and nail salon. Right now, you have to go through the Poets Inn and then down the hallway to the salon. And I've seen the principal chasing people down the hallway. But this would allow, a much clearer safety issue with people coming in and out of the building, and this would be really our community center. This is what's called Whittier Way, a place for our students to congregate and be together. And then this is an aerial view of that Whittier Way. This is our makerspace, a place where our students, I kind of tease that all of Whittier Tech is a makerspace, but this is a place for our academic programs and our vocational programs to work in one area, to work on, engineering, robotics, those kinds of programs. This is our marine technology program. Again, this was added about 3 years ago. Right now, they have a corner of the auto tech program. There we have a significant amount of boats and wave runners and things like that that kids are working on. It would be nice for them to have their own dedicated space. Health assisting, as you know, there's a real need for health assistants, CNAs, and medical assisting students. Those programs, we get calls all day long for people to come into their workforce. So we have about 130, 140 seniors right now actually working in co-op. And then halfway through their students' junior year, we'll be sending out a whole other group of students. So even while they're in school, they're helping our economy and working in their fields. This would be a neighborhood breakout area. This would be a typical classroom. So again, just reviewing the project schedule. If we did build a new building, it would take approximately 3 years to build. The class of 28-29, or the school year 28-29, would hopefully be starting in a new building, again, taking 3 years. So this is what everybody wants, the project budget and tax impact. So again, I go back to our anticipated district share is $264.1 million. We'll have definite firm numbers tomorrow. Can everybody see that? I can read it. So I think it's for Newbury, for average homeowner of $750,000, the tax impact would be $171 a year. And for a code upgrade, it would be $195 a year. Next slide. So we're moving forward with the school building committee has requested the school committee to move forward with a district-wide election. We've worked with our clerks in all of our areas. The election would be January 23rd from 11 to 7. I know this is a little bit unusual, but district-wide elections, we're working with Rick Manley from Lock and Lord. District-wide elections can be as little as 4 hours or as much as 8 hours. So obviously we have gone with a larger number to have 8 hours. We've also worked with the clerks about what would be the best time. Some thought earlier in the morning, some thought later at night. So we all settled on 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. for the district-wide election. And the results would be based on the total vote within the 11 cities and towns. And what if this fails? Next steps. So as you could see, and it became more apparent through the feasibility study that our wastewater treatment plant is in serious need of being fixed and upgraded. Some people have said, why don't you tie into Haverhill sewer? We looked at that. That would be that much more expensive because we would be basically taking pipes down miles of roads, up hills. And it was something that we did really, please know that I would rather not have a wastewater treatment plant. It would be way better to have a tied into the sewer, but this was the most fiscally responsible decision. The sprinkler suppression system, we have been holding off on this. Our city inspector has told us that we can no longer do any more renovations in our building until we put a sprinkler suppression system in. We have done some renovations. We've been lucky to get some capital skills grants in a medical assisting area, in our HVAC area. But we are at a full stop of moving any more of our programs. And we have to be able to grow with our programs. So this was clearly another priority. And then an access road, the city really is unhappy that there's only one way into Whittier and one way out, that they really want us to add a second access road into the building. And if we do these projects, that would trigger the 30% code that we would have to move forward with, and would be required by law. But as you also heard, we have had some discussions, we've got some real heat and air conditioning issues as well. So the priority list is large, and it's not because we haven't been taking care of the building. I think anyone that actually walks the building can see that we're taking care of it, but the equipment is 50 years old. The pipes are 50 years old, everything is 50 years old, and I feel very lucky that we've been able to take care of it to this point, but it is now absolutely time for us to do something. So these are some other required imminent upgrades that we would need to move forward with. So it goes back to this, a code compliancy upgrade would be $364 million, and a new school would be $264 million. We've had all of this valued engineered and looked at, and we want to make sure we don't want to be selling our community something that isn't true. And we've worked with our OPM and our architects and engineers to make sure that these numbers are as accurate as we possibly think they can be. Again, this is pretty small, but this is just kind of showing what we would need to move forward in the next 10 years if we did need to move forward with a code upgrade. I mean, I think we all want kids to be in a safe environment that meets ADA compliance, and ADA did not exist in 1973. So these are things that we need to do now. With Bob talked a little bit about the elevator situation. Not having an elevator that can hit all 4 floors is a problem. The situation where if you're in a wheelchair, you have to walk behind the curtain in the auditorium to be able to sit in the auditorium is an issue. So these, we just need to do better for our kids. And this would be a schedule, so how we would break it up would be broken up into zones. It would be complicated because we do have a lot of heavy, large equipment that we would have to figure out a way to move those students into a different space. It's not like we're just moving classrooms, or we can move the classrooms someplace else. We're a vocational and technical school, so we have equipment that we would need to make sure that there are arrangements for. So we would have to break it out into zones. It's not like we could do heating in one year and electrical work in the next year. We would really have to break it out into zone work. And then this is some of the community outreach that we have done. I think we will have our 8th community forum. We had an open house at community forum on the 5th. I saw some of you there that night. We're going to have another one on Thursday. We are more than willing to talk to anyone that has any questions about our project. You can email me, you can call me, you can call the school committee, the team. We really want to make sure that people understand what's going on. And then I hope all of you have been receiving the Whittier Wire newsletters since May last year that are providing updates as we move forward. And these are just social media posts, that we've put out about what's been going on at Whittier. And these are press releases and then additional dates. We are still visiting all of our cities and towns. I have another meeting on Monday of next week. This is my second one this week. But we really want to engage our community and let them know what's going on at Whittier. So alumni spotlight. So at Whittier, we're everywhere. I think you heard one of our students or one of our staff members talk about everywhere we go, you're seeing a Whittier alumni, whether it's your hair salon or a restaurant, or, I see all the time people looking for electricians or plumbers. Whenever they come to my house, they say, "Oh, Miss Lynch, here you are." Right now, you know where I live. No, just kidding. But that is our workforce, and as you know, it's really hard to get somebody to come to your house to do work right now. And I'm concerned that, you know, people my age and older are retiring, and there's gonna be a real shortage of a workforce in the future. And then this is our Whittier Spotlight, Brianna Castine, a medical assisting student. She was in our early college program, she was cheerleader. I chose Whittier Tech because I wanted a different way of learning, because I always struggled with the traditional academic teaching methods. Whittier Tech has helped me grow my communication skills and be more social. I want to be a pediatric nurse, so my medical assisting training is going to help me on my path to success. And then Whittier Tech never sleeps. We are busy all the time. Again, we have our robust evening program. We have the free summer CTI program that is funded through the state for unemployed, underemployed individuals. And then this is my little favorite program. It's a CVTE program. I'm a former guidance counselor. I always struggled with those senior students in their January, February, March of their senior year that didn't have a path or a plan forward. So these are programs that we have opened up to our community for free. The students just have to find transportation actually back to school. We will pick them up on the bus. And they explore 6 to 8 programs. And then our hope is that once they explore those programs, they've found kind of their path, and then they get themselves involved in our summer CTI program. We had students involved last year, and every single one of them did move forward with the CTI program. And I've been told are working and being very successful. So this is our website. We've really tried to make sure any information that you need is right here on our website. If you have any questions, you know, there's information there, but please, you know, feel free to reach out to me if you're not finding information that you're looking for. And thank you. Our anticipated district vote will be January 23rd from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's it.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah.
I'll start with everyone. Anybody have any questions? Who wants to go first? Questions, comments, concerns?
Superintendent Lynch, 1,280 students.
Yes.
The new building, is that sized 1,280 students, or you anticipating growth? Student population.
So it is sized for 1,280, but if I can just explain that a little bit. I originally wanted to make the building for 2,400 students. DESE and MSBA told me no way. Then we agreed on 1,400 students. When we really looked at the financials for that, the capital cost was very expensive to add the additional 120 students. And then also, most of our district high schools have really gone down in school age population. And we felt that it would really hurt some of our local high schools to take more students at Whittier Tech. You know, we have one high school that has about 299 kids in their high school. Another that more than half of the students apply to Whittier Tech. So we didn't want to hurt our community by taking more students.
I mean, square, experience within the town says that square footage of a building drives the cost. Did your school building committee, did they go through a number of iterations in terms of sizing it, reducing it, shrinking it, thinking that, okay, it started out at $600 million, let's get it down to something lower than that?
Right.
Did that happen, or?
MSBA is very rigid about what kind of square footage you can have for classrooms, you know, like, you know, ideally, it would be great if every teacher had their own classroom. MSBA will not allow you to have that. Teachers have to share the classrooms. So, you know, we really worked through that process, made sure with 1280, how many actual classrooms could you have, how many labs you could have, that kind of thing. I think for us, it's a vocational program. So it's our vocational programs that drove the cost.
Yeah, I think from Sunday, my recollection is the square footage of the proposed new building is slightly larger, slightly more than what you have now. I just wanna make sure that you understand, coming from a manufacturing background, what I saw there was very impressive in terms of the skills that you offer. I mean, in my factory, we had numerically controlled machines, robotic spot welders, spot resistance welding, sheet metal people, arc welding people, electrical discharge machining. And for you to develop the carpentry skills as well, for you to develop these talents is really, as you said, an asset and a resource to the community. So I fully understand that. And I also understand that you have some students there who are special needs, so to speak.
So last year, the Department of Education recognized us and moved us forward as a nationally distinguished school for our special populations. That means special education students, socioeconomic, ELL students. So I take no credit for that. We have an amazing staff that does amazing work with kids. You know, when you think about MCAS exams, we have the same cutoff scores as any other high school, and our students are doing it in half the time. And it's really because of the hard work of our staff, making sure that our kids meet that goal. And for the last 16 years, every student has received a high school diploma.
It's awesome. I mean, personally, having toured the building, you need to do something. I mean, I totally agree with that. And I totally value what your output is from the school. And clearly, something needs to be done with the building. I chose not to ask specific questions about money, because I think you've gotten barraged on that, and you still will. But the pain is gonna come from the community and how, what resources are we gonna have to cut? What services are we gonna have to cut here to make this happen, one way or another, either a new building or the critical upgrade? So I think you probably have more questions about that, but I'll defer that to other people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana?
This is a very complicated topic. And I've read a lot of things that, you know, New Report has published and that Raleigh has published, and some of the concerns, and I know you all know what the concerns are. And I'm just wondering if between now and January, are we gonna address some of those concerns and talk to the public in general about, and I'm glad that FinCom's here tonight about how are we gonna finance this? You know, and even the I know that the concerns on the voting structure, whether it should be, and I understand that, you know, every town, if we went with individual towns, every town would have to pass it, I'm assuming. And then correct me if I'm wrong when I say that. And I do understand that is gonna be a very difficult challenge. But the flip side of that coin is that towns, a lot of towns are using the argument that that's unfair, that's an unfair way of trying to move that forward. There's so many pieces of this that it's hard to grab onto it. I just got my thought process back. Another piece of it is the method at which the assessments are being assessed for each of the cities and towns as we move forward. And there's been arguments about whether or not that's valid or reasonable anymore, you know, and I have the original contract right here in front of me, and I understand, you know, like you said, I believe this was written in 1973, somewhere around there, and I'm
67. It's 1967.
1967. You know, this applied back then. It may not apply now. And I'm wondering, I understand that between now and January, we're certainly not gonna be able to renew this agreement with the district. I get that. But I don't know if it would be possible to make some kind of an amendment so that it seems like the assessments could be more equally brought forward. to the different towns and cities that you need to sell this to.
I think if you look at the assessment, the capital assessment through the regional agreement, looking at it through students, enrolled at Whittier, I don't think that that's how they planned this. If you look at it, the assessments are spread out through all 11 cities and towns. All 11 cities and towns are getting a workforce from the school. So I think that was the point. Many of the students live in Haverhill, but they're working in Newburyport or Newbury or West Newbury. They may not be able to afford to live in the actual community that they're working at. And I think that when I look at it, that's what I see. Because if not, right, you would have Haverhill pay almost twice. They have the lowest minimum home, or the lowest average home rate. That would be really difficult for them to double their assessment. So this is a way of spreading that capital cost out throughout the district, and again, getting that workforce. But I wasn't even born in 1967, so.
Me neither. But Alicia, I'd love to, one of the things that I think is missing from this discussion is you alerted to things that people know. What I do, I'm looking at the regional agreement, and you're correct, we cannot amend the regional agreement in between now and January. But I think that it's really important to understand that how that capital assessment is apportioned. So for people in this room and in the community watching this later, no one's ever said that there's no slide that shows, and I have a really small printout of it. But as I understand it, and you please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'd like us to be in the record of how it's being apportioned, is that it's based on the total enrollment of of students in all of our schools in the 11 communities, correct?
Grades 1 through 12.
Grades 1 through 12. So that number is and this is from the documents I received ahead of time, that is 20,208 students. And then what it has done is that it's now divided by the number of students per community. So for Newbury, that is 672 students in our community, which is 3.33% of this project. So that's what we as taxpayers here in Newbury are going to be responsible for. So of that 264, that is an $8,780,560 is that proportionate. So I really want to make sure that that's understood of that's where we are based on what the regional agreement is and what the numbers bear out. So just to give I really meant nothing for that other than just to have a really clear, because we don't have a slide for it, to talk about how those numbers are. And that each town, for example, Newburyport their concern is that their proportionment is 11.54. So each other communities, what they're yelling about or what they're raising as concerns may be different from what we're raising. So I would like us all just to remember that this is the number we're talking about is in our community. And from what I've seen on the assessment analysis between new and code upgrade, being here for the last 12, 13 years of building projects in Newbury, I know the cost of building new is lower than renovating, and it's hard to stomach. It's hard to make your mind work on that, but I've never seen one of these projects come through, so this is right in line that way. So I think that we just kind of need to keep those looking at why that's how we then end up with this sheet that's in the presentation about the tax analysis between new construction and a code upgrade. And then I think it's part of it then falls to how does the town pay for it? And I'm still don't have the answers on that because I don't think any of us do.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to speak to a little bit. I just want the public to understand. And I think where a lot of the grief that Bill was referring to from the other municipalities is the process that this is going through. So the Whittier School Committee is anticipated to take a district-wide vote on January 23rd. No,
Before that.
No, I'm sorry.
December 13th.
December 13th, the school committee's gonna vote to move forward with this anticipated district-wide vote. And on January 23rd, if the district votes that way, if the school committee votes that way, this district-wide vote will occur in all the 11 cities and towns. The question is gonna be, shall the Whittier School District incur debt? There's no funding mechanism associated with that, so when we in Newbury have to pass, we try to incur debt, we have to have a funding mechanism to go with it, because all the cities and towns are subject to Proposition 2.5. We don't have any, as you've heard from our assessor earlier, there's no additional tax levy, no, that's there for us to absorb the cost of this. So it's a little nerve-wracking to the 11 communities that on, January 24th, they may be told, you have a project, this is your apportionment, here is the bill, with no funding mechanism. Massachusetts, you can't just go out and raise taxes to cover your bills, you just can't. So that's where the angst comes from. If this was a municipal project, or if ever Triton gets to this point, there'll be a debt exclusion question. And to allow the district to incur debt, but there will be a funding mechanism to override your taxes. And it has to pass, not only at the ballot, it has to pass at town meeting as well. It has to pass 2 ways. So that's the source of anxiety, at least that's the anxiety that I feel, is that there's a possibility that this will go through and we'll have a bill with no means to pay it.
I think that Erica and Alicia said that very well, but I'd like to add to the fact that, the size and scope of the building, because the building committee has been locally based in your end, I imagine, and I don't even know who's on that. But, being selectman for a really long time, you've done a great job. You've really handled a lot of your costs in-house for a very long time, which is, and now you're asking for help. But it's still a little bit of a surprise, and you're already to the state level and it's been okayed. So, like Alicia and Erica said, we have antipathy because we don't really understand. It's a little new to me as a sitting selectman, the process and the fact we're at this point. And I imagine someone in the audience or on TV has less information than I do. So that's where, everyone is feeling the pinch. And I mean, we have no size or any idea of what the building really is. And that's one thing is, I will say, working with Brian in Triton, on a local level, when you start to think about your own building coming forward, which is Triton, we're fully involved. So we haven't been involved at all.
So, it's funny, one of the things I've asked, I know you meet with Brian, your finance committee and your selectmen meet with Brian regularly, maybe inviting your tech to 1 or 2 of those meetings a year as well. I think that would be great. I think a lot of things were lost.
I think quarterly, don't let me interrupt you, but quarterly would be.
All right. Maybe we could do it at Whittier, just saying.
At the boat time. Yeah.
I think that I agree with you. I think that that's important. I think COVID set things really back for a while. I think in 2016, we came to each city in town and asked for a stabilization account because of the concerns about our building and that this is what we were looking at. I know in your budget books, we talk about feasibility study. Someone said, well, why didn't you just come out with the full feasibility account, of $1.8 million. But that's what we had said we were doing with our stabilization account. We were saving, we were just gonna not hurt our entire community. Because let's be honest, we were just getting out of COVID, and we didn't know how things were gonna be working. But here we are, and we have to make a decision. And I hear what you're saying, Selectman Greco, I really do, and we will do whatever we can to help support the community, if you do in fact have to do a debt exclusion. You have my word on that, because I do understand this is a really big ask from all of you, this is a big ask from everyone that's listening in our community. But I also know that we have to do something at Whittier Tech. We absolutely must do something. And I will do whatever I can to support each community through that process. It's not like the vote happens on January 23rd and on January 24th they say, oh, so bad, too bad, so sad, I'm out of here. You know, we will continue to be partners with you in this project.
Well, that's good to hear. Are there any other questions from the select board? Leslie, do you have any questions?
No, I think everybody's easy peasy question. I just need to understand the existing school will stay open until the other building is complete?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think it was the Pentucket, they had to kind of set up somewhere else while they were building the new building.
No, we would stay in the same spot. You know, COVID was so hard, you know, for our kids, and I would hate to disrupt learning anymore, but that obviously, we would do whatever we have to do to make sure that Whittier Tech's ready for the next generation. And again, providing a workforce for our region.
So I have a question. We just came through a municipal building project that was not successful in Newbury. And I learned about a new thing called value engineering. That building, the process that we did, the town of Newbury took, trying to get the municipal building, the town hall built, was that you took all of our, and I'm asking you if you did this same thing.
Absolutely.
We took all of our municipal needs that we had everywhere. I mean, previous to when we had the town hall, we were in trailers and stuff, so we needed space. So we took all of that space. We worked with an OPM and we worked, and they took that space and they said, okay, if we were to have all of it, this is what it would look like. Then they went through, then the municipal building said, well, that's too big, so we're gonna try and get this smaller. And then they looked at different ways, touchdown stations, you know, moving, making square footage smaller in spaces, till it was something that town could fit. It would have to work for the town, but it would, you know, and that's how that happened. Did you go through that same process with this big building? Did you start with something and then get it down?
Yes, so, but I'll have to say all along, we were really trying to be fiscally conservative through the whole process. I mean, it may not sound like it with a $440 million building, but the one thing that or the team was very focused on was a flexibility, because as the trades change, we want to be able to change too with green technologies and whatnot. So that was the first thing. In this project, there are not a lot of bells and whistles. One of the things, you know, when we did value engineering, I really wanted our transportation space behind, and actually it is in that picture and behind the school, so that transportation would be right there. When we looked at the cost of doing that, that was like $2.5 million. Well, no, we're moving that back down the road for $2.5 million. So that was one of the biggest items that we really looked at, you know, the want versus need. And then we just, you know, continue to kind of pick away at some of those things. In value engineering, I think it was about $9 million that we took out through value engineering.
Okay, so this project that's before us here, is there any opportunity to shrink it at all? Or is that, it is what it is?
It's pretty much it is what it is. Once you bring it to schematic design, that's where we're at. So we'll get the final numbers tomorrow.
All right. Does anybody in the FinCom have any questions?
I have one. So the immediate tax impact in fiscal year 2024, there's no immediate impact, correct? Right. It would come in, so in terms of like a funding mechanism at this year's town meeting, we wouldn't be looking at an immediate cut to services for FY '24, but it would be something that we would need to think about. Could we, as a town, do a debt exclusion not this spring to cover this? Do we have to do this debt exclusion at the same time? I feel like there's a lot of these, like, you know, if we find the money to cover our portion out of the operating budget, could we postpone a debt exclusion for, I know, it like. But if there's a way, like, if we have some ways that we could minimize the impact immediately to taxpayers, or be able to do a debt exclusion at a separate time, is it like, do we have to do it now, or we lose the opportunity?
No, once we have the final numbers, we'll be putting together a financial plan that would, you know, provide the most cost-effective manner to pay for it, but to suggest that we would find money within there isn't any there, I can tell you that right now. We wouldn't be able to do it without eliminating some of the services that the community currently enjoys.
So two questions. One, you're gonna build a new building, is there new equipment that you're gonna install, and is that included in the cost? And then the second one was, what happens to the old building?
So the old building gets torn down, and some of that is asbestos and things like that, so we would have to do some abatement kinds of work with that. Equipment, we have been very lucky to receive a lot of grants. We're in a very good space regarding vocational equipment, and I think even here, we have never, and it's been a while since we've come to you about any vocational equipment. We've received a lot of grants, so all of that, we would obviously be coming, and that's part of it too. We need riggers, the equipment's so big, to move it, it's a little bit complicated, but obviously we're gonna save as much of the equipment as we possibly can. Some of the shops need a good cleaning though, I'm not gonna lie.
Patrick, do you have any? I'm good. Vanessa, do you have any?
That brought up another question. So is the cost of dismantling the old school, is that in that 2.6, is that included?
Yes.
So like, are there any other costs? Because also the other thing that I always think about when we do this is, what's gonna be the ongoing operating cost that the district will have to also supply after the new building is built? Is there going to be additional costs for maintenance and, you know, heating, any of those things that we then are thinking about how we have to cover through our assessments?
I guess I would say I hope not, right, because it's gonna be a better building, insulation and geothermal and all of that. And I think maintenance, because they're working so hard, that hopefully that we wouldn't need another person, because we wouldn't be, you know, turning off heat in each classrooms and turning it back on multiple times during a day. And then also dealing with, we have water in the boys' locker room, which I hear on the radio quite a bit. So I think, you know, my hope is that no, we would not need any more maintenance staff.
So one idea that I have is to lobby the state for more money. So you said the MSBA is coming, you're getting new numbers tomorrow. What happened? How did that go up? What was the backstory on that one?
So that's, when you finish schematic design, you have your final schematic design where they look at your building and look at your costs and you get your final numbers. I have a meeting on Friday with our state legislators to kind of go over where we're at with the building project. I will say that when I gave the numbers to Tracy at the end of September, since then MSBA has given us another $38 million in reimbursement. Because, you know, MSBA wasn't meeting, you know, the cost versus, you know, what they were reimbursing. They're still not totally, but we're in a much better place. But, you know, we received another $38 million in September for the project. And I will continue to lobby and continue to work with our community about this.
So I think you need help lobbying.
Okay.
And I think
there's an understatement.
I think that if the 11 municipalities come together as a megaphone and get up there, because I see this, listen, there's no doubt you need a new school. I mean, after what I saw with that, it's just, there's no doubt. But this is a regional issue. Who paid for when Whittier was first built 50-something years ago? Who paid for that? This district didn't form until that school was built, correct? Do you even know that answer?
I know Kara, the business manager, who usually comes on these programs with me, is not here today, but she has done a ton of research on it. I think the state did put in a lot more money for regional schools and regional folk schools at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think I think we need to go up to them, and I think we need to advocate more. I've already spoken to, both mayors, and our senator and our rep, and I'm gonna continue to push that. I'm gonna push for a meeting with the governor's office and get the MSBA there in that same room, because they have to look at it as a regional thing. This isn't just something that's a Newbury thing. It's a regional thing, and it's got a regional impact.
I think the interesting thing to kind of piggyback on that, it's the same reimbursement for a regional vocational school as it is for an elementary school.
So I think maybe when we go up there and have this meeting, because I'm gonna get it, because I'm not gonna stop until I do, I'd like you to come.
Absolutely.
And I think if we're all in the same room together, they can't pit one against the other, and I think that there can be a meaningful conversation up there.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
The question you asked about, was the reimbursement different back in 67 or 73 when it was built?
Mhm.
That's a good homework assignment to try to get an answer to that.
Yeah, there was none. The state paid for it all.
The state paid for it all.
Mhm. There was no reimbursement. There was no capital. No.
I have a question.
Yes.
For anybody in the room. Bill has I think this is what's gonna be on the ballot.
That was the draft.
The draft
That's the
of what's gonna be on the ballot. And I guess my question is, it doesn't really matter what town wants it or doesn't want it, but if the answer is yes, if that's how the vote comes out, is the debt exclusion gonna be a separate vote at our ATM and then at the ballot box?
Yes.
So it
Yes.
will be. So
Yes.
what will happen if you get the yes, but we vote that down?
Then we have to find money in the operating budget to cover that.
You take it out of the town.
Yes,
Take it out as
we
the-
lose town services.
You just get handed the bill. So everybody in the town of Newbury.
Yeah.
So how's your choices now?
So everybody in the town of Newbury can vote no, and we could. still-
Well, no, I'm going beyond that. I'm getting now to the funding, financial end of it.
Well, that's
You know,
my
I'm gonna, let's just assume it passes, but then we vote down the debt exclusion.
Right.
So then,
That would be following, if it happens at town meeting and happens at the polls in our district, it would be called following the will of the town. And we would then, as a group and as a town, have to bear that out of the operating budget. So we would then have a reduction in town services. That's the step through of all of these things, is we're voting for this as 11 communities, just like we vote for the governor.
Right.
So Newbury could say completely no, but there are other communities make up for it. So it goes through that way. But then how we choose to fund it is on us, and it has to be, the debt exclusion has to pass at the ballot, and then we have to make the appropriation at town meeting. And if one of those doesn't happen, it doesn't work. Same as with every debt exclusion we do, whether it was for the time we did it for our roads. That's one where we did it successfully. We all came together and said, yes, we're going to pass the debt exclusion for roads and make an override, and we passed it at the polls, and then we passed it at town meeting. Speaking together, we have excellent roads here in Newbury.
Yeah, we do.
So you can see how you think of the things that bring us together and how we do it and we solve it in that way as well and pay for it.
We also passed a small for the school.
Small one for the schools a few years ago.
I think though, if all 11 towns decided they didn't want it, it still wouldn't matter because we'd be outvoted.
Would we
Not
get,
just one
No,
town.
I was gonna get to that, so, and if it's a no
Because
vote,
we wouldn't carry enough votes because of,
went to the high
just-
price?
It's district-wide, so it's just a pure majority of,
well, if,
pure majority of all the votes. It's not on, it's not like by precinct, it's not by town, it's all of our votes.
but I think if every one of the 11 towns obviously didn't vote for the override, it still wouldn't matter, because it's already gone through.
If they get a
Oh,
majority.
each town would decide how they're paying for it.
No, I know that.
if I may, if it's a no vote, it's gonna cost us $100 million more, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, and I think it would be looking at an
I mean,
override every
those
year.
are those really the two
Well,
options?
I have a
You
question
know?
about that. So let's say it fails, and you said now it's gonna go, cause it could fail. And it's gonna go to this cost compliance, what is it, code compliance, code compliance. How are you gonna do that?
Would have to come to you every year with a pretty large capital cost. And then, you know, would have to work from there about it. I mean,
But would that be go to a vote? Tracy, how would that work, do you know?
It's gonna have to go to a vote. We're still gonna have to determine how you're gonna finance it.
But, so, would it still work the same way as this is gonna work if let's just say that Whittier has to go to this code compliance, right? The school committee would vote, and then they would
send it to you, yeah, right.
In our
it to us.
annual operating budget.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be a capital assessment every year.
And I think that would be more, when you go to the state level, was it the MSBA, is that what
Yeah,
it,
it's the
what it
governor's
is?
office,
I think it's more important that they understand that if it's a no vote, and then they're not putting in anything. To me, I would think that would be one of the single biggest factors that we need to work on. If it's a no vote, in Dana's little world, the state still needs to help finance this.
Not,
No,
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 because that's not how it works.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the building association, is that's why they share the costs, is that they get to determine the process. It's the same thing we're looking at, we're 2 years into applications at Triton, into this program. And it took, what, 6?
I guess I just said that for the audience.
Yeah, it's,
You know what I
we're
mean? I'm
between.
I'm just trying to think of my own questions that people might at home be wondering about, you know, so that's kind of why I'm bringing this up, that's all.
This is a question that's been asked of me, but it wasn't a question I had, so I couldn't answer that. Is the final design and costs of equipment anywhere? Is it on the website?
Tomorrow will be the final cost, so
Everything will be square footage of the building, cost of all the equipment is
Yeah.
gonna be somewhere where these people that wanna look at it can
Yes.
reach in and look at it.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
So I spent about 4 hours with the Whittier rep, Joanna True, on Saturday afternoon, looking at all of this. And on the Whittier website, they have a calculator.
Yeah, Building the Future, though not the, I mean, you can access it through the Whittier Tech website, but you go to the buildingthefutureofwhittier.org.
Yeah, Building the Future Whittier.org, and it's got, and you just pick your municipality, and you put your home value in, and it will tell you what your apportioned share is.
Assessed home value.
Assessed home- your assessed home value, and it will tell you what your share is, and it was very good.
We just, I believe, added recently for a code upgrade too, so people would be able to see both options.
There's one voice I keep hearing in the back of my mind, it's on our own project, Bob Connors kept saying, you get the real cost when the bids come in to do the work.
Are you kidding? I would love to send money back to all of our communities after all of this. I
Oh, it's
mean,
gonna go the other way.
I'd like it to go that way too.
Oh.
But that's
I look like a hero after all of this.
correct.
The nature of municipal buildings is everything is exponentially higher.
I do have a question. It's, you must have the unique perspective of going around to the different communities of what is the general awareness of this project at this point? Cause I mean, I'm new to the FinCom and it does seem like the vote is coming up very quickly. I obviously was aware of the Triton project, but not as much of this. And are you finding that, are you finding that people there's different level of awareness of how far along this project is in different communities?
I would say yes. You know, I think the hard thing about the MSBA process is until you get the numbers, nobody cares.
Yeah.
And we didn't get the numbers until the end of September, beginning of October, and since then, we've been out in our communities. So that's, what I would say. We've had community forums, nobody showed up.
Right.
We, tried advertising, but now people are definitely showing up, now that the money's there.
Sorry, to say, I guess, I'm not sure if it's Gretchen or you, but that January, I know you said you met with the town clerks. Is there a reason why it's why it's being held in January and not around the town meeting time? Is there any sort of time clock?
Yes, so you have 120 days. From when the school committee approves, and actually when MSBA approves your schematic design, and that's on December 13th, the final, and then on December 13th, our school committee is voting how to move forward with the project. And then we have the clock starts, 120 days.
120 days from December 13th.
Right. So we worked with the clerks, there was a discussion, we had the first meeting in August, we had a second one, I think, in October. Looking at what the best time would be because of the presidential election. Probably March would have been the best, but because of the presidential election, they were gonna be pretty tied up with that. And then, prior to that, so the date of January came up as probably being the best time to fit that in.
I was gonna say, because we couldn't do this couldn't be on the same ballot as the primary.
No, it's one.
It has to be a separate.
Right, and the district pays for the election.
So it can't go on one of our normal ballots?
A debt exclusion could, though.
Gretchen, do you have any comments on this?
No, I mean, it was all a collective decision. We all agreed on the time. It was pretty cut and dry. You kind of came up with the date and with us saying about the presidential, so, yeah, it was collective, we were all in agreement, so.
So many questions. Is there mail-in voting, as people have become accustomed to?
There is not.
No. Is there absentee if people are traveling?
Yes.
If we have snowbirds?
Yes.
Other
This is according to the regulations, the law. This isn't Whittier
Okay.
Tech made this up. The election can be as little as 4 hours or as many as 8. Obviously, we wanted to have as many people have the opportunity to vote, so we went with 8. The other discussion that we had was the timing. I think that's really where we were trying to figure out what was gonna be the best time. So we landed on 11 to 7 to have the 8 hours. But the only thing you can have is absentee ballot for this type of vote. And that's through the Secretary of State's office.
Yes.
And don't they have to be in that day, that Tuesday, no late? Everything's we're gonna count that
Correct.
day,
Yes.
that night.
Correct.
We'll know.
We will
So
know.
there'll be no drop-off ballots in the.
No. Absentee.
So how are you gonna get the word out about this vote?
We're doing these meetings, we're gonna continue to talk to our communities, try to get as many people out there, for sure.
So, you said you canceled the other community meetings? Will you
Well-
reconsider doing them again, just to spread the word? Because I don't know how the word's gonna get out otherwise.
Yes, let's talk about it.
I think I would suggest that if you do a meeting in Newbury, someone should moderate. Someone from Newbury should be a moderator for that, not have
Thank you, yeah.
happened in the past in another town. I do have another question. I'm looking at the draft election warrant, and the first sentence says, do you approve the vote of the Regional District School Committee of the Whittier Regional Vocational Technical School District, blah, 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 borrowing money to pay the costs? That vote happens in December.
January.
January, before the election. If that vote is no,
No, this is the election.
this is the warrant. This is the warrant.
The school committee,
This
yes,
is
would
the
approve
warrant.
that, yeah,
The school committee has to approve
right,
to put it on the warrant.
right, to
Okay.
move forward with the district election.
What if they say no?
Oh.
I mean, I'm just thinking that hopefully the school committee people that represent the towns are somewhat aware of the heartburn, the financial heartburn that the towns may have.
I think, well, I know so.
Not trying to be negative about it, but I'm just saying, there's a side of the coin that could happen as well here. What would happen then?
Well, we have two options. We could go
Go to the critical.
district-wide
vote update.
election, or it would be town-by-town vote. Those are the two options that are on the table.
So what happens, let's talk about the town by town vote. Why are you averse to that?
Because that is 11 cities and towns, it would have to be unanimous. So one city or town could sink the entire project. And then some would ask for a debt exclusion, so that would mean, if everyone needed a debt exclusion, that would mean 22 positive votes for the project to move forward.
I think everyone does need a debt exclusion because we don't have, no? Some towns have the levy capacity to do that? Heartburn. Oh, sorry, you're with the OPM, right? Do you wanna come up and give us some
I'd
information?
like just to add a point of
Actually, can you come
Sure.
up, cause we are on TV and that's the microphone to the TV.
David Sandin, left field project executive, OPM. I just wanted to provide a point of information for the select board, the FinCom, and also Tracy. When you were talking about, I think you were mentioning that for the fiscal year 2024, there'd be a zero tax impact. That's across all communities. And I'm just looking at the data that I did not put together, but Hilltop Securities did. For fiscal year 2025, the estimated debt service for Newbury would be, I'm gonna round $20,000. So that's 90 cents per $100,000 of home value. So I just wanted to point it out that, you know, the first year, 24, it's zero. The second year, it's not zero, it's something. And I'm not saying that, you know, you can afford, I don't know if you can afford $20,000 within the operating budget, but again, just a point of information.
It's the years after that.
I got it too.
Please stop.
So can you read the years can you mind coming back up here? Can you read the years, read years like, 3 through 5 or 3 through 7 or something, 3 through 10? So the numbers, cause we don't have
These are
that.
estimates too, just so you know.
Correct. So, so year 25, it's 90 cents per $100,000 of home value. And then from years 26, I'm squinting, from 26 to 27, it's $15.14. All of the figures I'm gonna give you is based on $100,000 annual cost per $100,000. So then from year 28, it's $23, I'm rounding. And then from year 2030, it's $26, from 30 to 30.
$26 per thousand.
$100,000.
$100,000.
It's about $500,000 a year in
And
debt
I mean,
service.
and then we get into from 32 to 55. It's anywhere from $26 to $24.
Okay, I think the town administrator answered my question. It's about $500,000 in debt service that the town's gonna get over the course of the 30 years.
Which isn't great, but.
Could be worse.
Down to, it's a couple $100, $300 or less a house, right? in
Yeah,
our
it's
town.
less than $200.
Less than 200
a house.
Yeah, we also have Triton, and a
Yep.
lot of other people are aware of how the contract is for like Essex Aggie and for student, if I understand it, so that's why everything's all thrown off, so. But
All
a
right.
contract's a contract.
Yeah, we have different agreements.
Yeah.
All right, so does anybody have any other questions?
Thank you so much for having me here tonight, and please, if you have any other questions or your community has any questions, feel free to reach out and I'll do my best to answer them for you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Wow, right from Whittier.
I know nothing.
Have fun.
we're not into it, we're still on with you.
We got the full, but maybe you just get like a, okay, probably the first part, okay.
In your packet, there's a letter in here, it's a draft letter. That's signed by the member municipalities of the Whittier Tech School District. Did everybody get a chance to read this? Because I've been asked to sign this as chair. And I'm not gonna sign it without a vote of the board, so,
You have to sign that tonight.
no, but I wanna vote tonight, whether or not you
Do
think
we-
I should
is
move
it-
forward with it.
It's nothing we can put off to the next meeting, cause I did not see that.
Okay, well, if you're asking me to table it, we'll table it.
That's something for the board to decide, everyone to decide.
All right, does everybody want,
Well, I saw it, and I don't understand how it's attached to Whittier, that's what it was.
this letter here?
Is that?
That's the liquor
No, that's
license.
liquor license.
Oh, that's, okay,
It's this.
it's that, okay, alright, yeah,
Did you,
I did.
so, well, I guess, well, Jeff, did you wanna make a motion?
Motion to table the letter to another vote, how's that?
Is there a second?
Better words.
Second.
All right. Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much time to try to change anything in the future. When do we meet again?
When is it? 28th.
And then it's December, and then school committee, Whittier School Committee vote in January, and election in January, and if you're trying to get something changed, and you just kick this letter down the road, I think it's.
Read the
Well-
letter, Alicia.
This is regarding the Whittier, it's to the school committee, the Whittier Regional School Committee and the superintendent. Whittier Regional Vocational Technical High School Building Project, the project vote. After recent announcements related to the cost, $446 million, and local obligations for the school building project at Whittier Tech, leaders of the member municipalities have agreed that our collective voice is needed to lend perspective on the financial burden this project is anticipated to create on our residents. As local municipal officials, it is our responsibility to manage capital projects with long-term planning, financial burden with funding plans, and tax increases within Proposition 2.5. The anticipated budget for this project and the process it has followed sidestepped all of those responsibilities and leaves leaders without authority in the decision-making. We're writing to request consideration for alternative measures. Time is of the essence. The building committee appears to be moving quickly, making plans for elections without consult or approval of municipalities. It is our request that, 1, the school committee not approve of a district-wide vote in mid-January, but instead hold a town-by-town vote. This avoids a vote in January when inclement weather can almost guarantee a challenge for voters, especially without early voting options and limited polling hours. It allows voters to follow traditional voting practices they are familiar with in their community and engages election officials and municipal officials. 2, no debt be incurred until all communities approve funding. We have an obligation and duty to secure funding before acquiring debt. The process being followed now leaves us negligent in those duties. The voters would be approving debt without any funding plans in place. 3, project costs that have been identified as ineligible for reimbursement by the MSBA be reconsidered. 52% of the expenses being ineligible is overwhelming, and from what we can see includes extensive site work, demolition of the existing building, and construction of new athletic fields. We request these items be scaled back and/or phased for the sake of taxpayers. 4, additional funding be sought from state and federal partners. Federal legislators recently toured the school. There is clearly a demand for workforce training today, and our regional vocational schools were built with funding from the state at their inception. It's unrealistic that municipalities be expected to rebuild them now. We stand ready to assist in this advocacy. A reconsideration of the vote and funding plan will allow time for this advocacy. 5, a 5-year capital plan be included in budget presentations moving forward. Many municipalities work off of 5-year capital plans. Nothing related to the Whittier School project and its funding has been in our 5-year plan looking back many years. This unexpected major capital project requires more planning and transparency from the Whittier School Committee to the boards and councils of our communities who are making annual budget decisions and deserve notice on major projects. Although we see tremendous value in the educational mission of Whittier and training that is provided to educate our workforce, there needs to be a collaborative and fiscally responsible approach to this project. Additionally, we request the regional agreement established and signed in 1967 be revisited in a collaborative and comprehensive review process. If this is not possible, we will seek amendments through Section 7 amendments. The application of the terms of this agreement reveal inequitable financial responsibility across our communities. And this is, they're asking the 10 of the 11 communities to sign this letter. So, I don't believe that this has been something that we haven't been heard about, because I've heard about this Whittier project for a long time. I think the numbers just came recently, and that's why it's raising its head right now. That is what it is, that's just the
But
project.
you know, when you think about it, not for arguing at all, but you haven't really heard about this for more than a year. I mean, it's not been, we just have been oblivious, it didn't come up.
It wasn't in the forefront of my, I'll agree, but
but
it
it's all
wasn't in the
fine.
forefront of my mind.
Yep.
But I remember when you came before town meeting asking for a stabilization fund, because you were gonna go through feasibility. I mean,
But-
it's always been there, it's just always been like, oh, that's way over there.
But I
It's
just
way
want
over
people
there.
to realize that even for us as town leadership, it just hasn't been, so let alone people in the audience that
So,
are
right,
residents,
so
they got no
it's not
idea.
palatable right now because, I mean, this just came, we just got, like, when did you get the numbers? In September, you said you just gave them to her. So now, wham, it's September, October you start doing this and we're gonna vote for it in January. It's almost like there isn't enough time to build consensus and try to get the
Well,
project
reach out
passed.
and let our taxpayers, they just have no idea what's going on.
Okay, I have another question about process. So that 120 days, that would be the time you'd need to go 120 days from, if it's December 13th that they vote this and there was 120 days to go, we would have to hold a town meeting. Correct? If they're going town by town, it wouldn't be an election, it would be town meeting. So we'd have to call a special town meeting, reach quorum, pass it at town meeting.
And
have an election.
And have another election to vote the override. That's what we would have to do.
And if I can just say, can I say something?
Yeah.
This is the first time I've heard about the letter. They've been having meetings. Whittier Tech has not been invited to that table. I would have loved to have been at that table and at least heard what the issues are. This is all being done behind the scenes, and I've expressed my concern. I wanna be a partner. I can't be a partner
That's
if
why
I'm
I
not at the
asked you to
table.
come up to the state with us.
I can't be a partner if I'm not at the table.
But if you ask these people, they'd say the same thing.
I've invited them to every meeting.
I'm just saying, it's all, like you said, it's, communication has been hard through this whole process.
So I kind of, I don't necessarily agree, I don't,
there's not a lot.
I just think we need to go up to the state. I think we need to go advocate for more money up there because I think they hold the purse string.
But Alicia, if you really look at that letter is an amendment to some of the thinking that's been put before us without us having the ability to have input into it.
But that's the process. We have a regional
Well,
agreement.
this is part of the process too.
Well,
I mean, what part of that letter did you not really in some ways agree with? Or Bill or any of us as selectmen,
Well, what do you-
what did we agree, what,
what I was not necessarily so, the fact that we can't approve funding with, we have an obligation and a duty to secure funding before acquiring debt. I agree with that 100%. This ineligible expenses, I think we need to go advocate more at the state level for that. Sought state and federal partners, the capital plan, that would be nice.
I mean, I did read this letter now that I think about it.
Yeah.
And, but listening to you once again read it, then asking myself over and over again, what part of that letter did I really want to amend or, take out of the letter that we might write? And there's probably not a lot because it's subjective to a point.
Well, I guess it's just a matter, I don't know, do we wanna, I mean, I don't know.
It's asking for people to come to the table and discuss these issues is what it's asking, instead of having them put upon us by a vote,
What do you mean, what's put upon you by
by
vote?
January vote. There's discussion.
Well, they wanna
is there
go, yeah, because
alternative,
that will
like-
allow an opportunity to get
If we'd
funding.
if we'd had more advanced, not that, like I said, if we'd known way in advance the implications for our towns, we would have asked for this 2 years ago, but we just call us asleep at the wheel. I don't care who gets blamed,
No, I don't think anybody needs to assess blame. There's nobody did anything wrong. It is what it is. The school, they need a new school. This is the regional agreement.
Well, Whittier did too
This is the
good, too well
process.
fixing their school for too long, I never even. We used to laugh, you put the roof on for like 300 grand or something, right?
I don't like to be adversarial. I don't wanna be adversarial. I think we'll get farther with sugar than we do salt. And I think if we work collaboratively with, all of these communities, and I would want to include Haverhill, and I think Whittier needs to be there. I think we all need to be there.
But let's discuss what part of the letter you really don't like or wanna change, or, if you don't wanna, ask the board what they wanna do then, I don't know.
A motion to table it, so that's where you're at as far as that piece
I mean-
goes.
No, we have to dispense of that motion first,
Yeah,
so.
I make,
Do you wanna continue to table this, or do you wanna?
Jeff, I think he asked a good question.
Which part, don't I like?
Yeah, I don't know if that's something that you wanna discuss right now, or if it's, time is of the essence, like what Bill said.
Right.
which was a good catch, Bill.
Yeah, so,
So it is our request that the school committee not approve of a district-wide vote in mid-January, but instead hold a town-by-town vote. I think that would be better for the town of Newbury if they did that. This avoids the vote
do we have to
January.
untable the first,
Yeah,
before
at
we,
some point you
before
do.
we discuss
At some
it,
point.
before we discuss it, we need to untable it.
I make a motion to withdraw my motion, is that correct?
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna go back to the main motion, which was, did we even have a motion?
Well, for you to sign it, that was what.
Yeah, but we didn't have a motion for that.
No, but I mean, that's what this is all about, is are you gonna sign it or not sign it? And you
All right,
want,
so let's have a motion. How do you wanna move it?
So we can discuss it, you mean?
Yeah.
All right, motion for our chair to sign the letter
Second.
All right, discussion.
before us, yeah.
So if, I mean, I don't see that, I don't, all right, so what I don't necessarily 100% agree with is, I don't like the idea that we can't have a town-by-town vote. I think we would be better off with the town-by-town vote. I know Whittier's perspective, it doesn't work for them, but I think it'd be better for Newbury, at least it gives us an opportunity to have a funding source. Number two, is tied to number one, well, the number two is, number one is this avoids a vote in January when the vote is, well, whatever. No debt be incurred until all communities approve funding. Project costs that have been identified as ineligible for reimbursement by the MSA be reconsidered. We request that these items be scaled back or phased for the sake of taxpayers. I guess I kind of agree with that. Additional funding be sought from state and federal partners. I agree with that. And then the 5-year capital plan. This part here, all right, additionally, we request the regional agreement established and signed in 1967 be revisited in a collaborative and comprehensive review process. I think we should do that. But then this sentence here, if this is not possible, we will seek amendments through section 7 amendments. And I don't know what that means. And I haven't talked to Lisa about this, so I don't know. I guess, do you want to table it?
Well, I'm looking at it as if I was at work. That's a scary thought. I mean, this is to Gary James and to Maureen Lynch.
Yeah.
And some of the itemized steps are things you're upset about, okay? Number 2, okay, that's apple pie of motherhood, no debt be incurred, blah, 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 blah. The school committee, so you expect Gary James and Maureen Lynch to go to the school committee, and who's gonna influence the school committee to not approve the district-wide vote, okay? Number 3, you want MSBA to reconsider 52% of the expenses deemed ineligible now. You expect James and Lynch to do that? It would be better to have MSBA in front of you to say, can you work with us to do this because of all the reasons that we've been talking about?
Right.
Number 4, again, so the chairman and superintendent to go get federal funds? I mean, you know, it's like maybe if 8 towns and 3 cities tried to do that, that might have some power behind it, but you really think that they're gonna be able to do that? 5 is definitely a Whittier thing, a 5-year capital plan, but it's just something you're not happy with that you'd like to have happen, so. Yeah, I mean, if you throw the football, sign the letter, and it goes to those 2 people, you're expecting them to do things that maybe could be done better and quicker if you had the involved parties there with you at the table.
Now, the only thing I would say,
That's what
Bill,
I think.
is how did it get to this point?
This came
Is
from,
our superintendent of Whittier was smart enough and good enough to get it to this point already anyway, without us being involved. So who else you gonna ask? You know, because I guess it, you know, we can have it for a vote to ask who wants to have them sign it or not. It's just, it's kind of, I guess it's a last-ditch effort by the 11 or the 10 communities involved because the process has been not very transparent to us at this point. We haven't had a lot of time to be able to stick our nose in.
right.
And I guess people are angry by that, so.
I have a comment, if I may. Number 1, personally, I don't think that we should be trying to influence what the school committee's decision is gonna be. That's why they're there.
Well, that's the role of the school committee, is to advocate on behalf of the kids of the district.
But that's all I'm saying. I mean, this is requesting the school committee not approve the district-wide vote. And I think that the school committee should be able to make that process, that determination without without interference, I don't know, yeah, that's just what I think. You know, I'm not so sure all of this is in our wheelhouse, you know, that's what I'm trying to say. I feel as though I'm stepping outside of my wheelhouse when I try and push this forward.
But then maybe we should have never signed that 1967
Well,
contract.
I've already said that.
You have no say. But that's neither here nor there.
Anyway, that's how I feel about it.
Leslie?
Back to number one again, that they're requesting also to be able to have early voting and because of weather, inclement weather and things like that, but haven't you all made the decision that you're not gonna go with the early voting?
They can't.
They can't.
Yeah. So that's not even, you know, part of this. The other thing is, I haven't even been on the board for a year, so I am not really educated on this whole thing. And I really hate to make a promise when I don't know where the money's coming from. Just be able to digest a little bit more of this and be able to understand it a little bit deeper than, you know, just the short amount of time that it's been in front of me.
Understood.
Maybe it might be worthwhile to see if who signed this thing and passed it on. Maybe not too many people have done it. I don't know. I have no idea. But I mean,
we don't have to sign on to
Want me to
this,
make
we
my
can write our own
motion
letter, if we want to.
Really?
Well, you make my motion again, Alicia.
Well, I mean, this was asked, this came across, I believe it came from,
It doesn't actually say where it came.
it came from the mayor of Amesbury, from her office.
Okay.
It was her request, this is her draft, and it was her request. If we all wanted to sign off on it, I spoke with the mayor, and she asked me, she goes, did you sign it yet? And I said, no, I need to come before the board, and I need to vote of the board. She's like, okay, well, she said, if people don't sign it, I'm gonna send it anyways, so it's gonna come from her anyways. So, I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
Amesbury has deeper pockets.
Well, Amesbury.
No.
You have
Amesbury
your
has
motion
different-
for you to sign, so you have to second, but you need to vote if that's what you wanna do. Get another motion.
You have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any further discussion? You can vote. Once I sign it, I'm speaking for the board. So if you don't agree with this, you gotta vote no. All in favor?
Want me to make a motion to table it again?
Yes, please.
You can say.
Take the burden off you.
Go ahead, Leslie, make it.
I motion to table this until we are really clear on what we're voting on.
Is there a second?
We have to take the other motion away first, do we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we had a first and a second
No, maybe change it less.
You have a motion on the floor to
to
To,
sign,
to vote on
to
signing it.
sign the letter, that's the motion.
That's the motion
Who
right
made
now.
that motion? They can withdraw it.
Come on, Pete. Do you wanna withdraw it?
I didn't make it, did I?
Just, can I have a vote?
I'm ready to vote.
All right. All in favor of me signing this letter and having it be the vote of the board? Say aye.
I vote no.
No, I haven't
she's
called
gonna
it
ask.
yet. Are you opposed to me signing the letter?
Opposed.
Opposed.
All right. That's it, 3. 3 opposed, 2 abstains. Jeff, you gonna abstain? I'm gonna abstain. You wanna
I'm
vote
good.
no, or do you
I'm-
wanna
yeah,
abstain?
I'm not voting.
All right, he's gonna abstain. So the motion failed, so
I
I'm
guess I
on
was
side.
confused by all that,
So-
but that's all right.
Okay, so we'll get more clarity on this. I'm still gonna have conversations with, you know, Mayor Gov again, and I will speak with, Mayor Beard, who's still gonna beat the drum that we have to get up to the State House, but I firmly believe the answer lies. Well, actually, did you wanna stay for the liquor license piece of it?
Alicia, should we close our meeting?
Yes.
And motion to adjourn,
Second.
all those in favor?
Yeah.
FinCom is adjourned and we have no minutes because
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You don't have anything to do. No, we're gonna continue our meeting, but the Whittier portion's over. FinCom, did you close?
we closed.
We closed, so.
I don't think there's anything else we need to be a part of, right? Okay.
So those are our fees and that's a bunch of towns around us.
Thank you, FinCom, for coming out. Thank you.
So,
Voice of
I
reason.
got it.
So we have an annual fee every year.
Right, so we're,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Alicia, can we take the pink house out of order? So
yes.
Michelle can.
Yes, we can. So I'm gonna suspend the order of the agenda. I'm gonna move to the Pink House. Move all this Whittier stuff out of the way now.
Hold on, I gotta get there.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, that's the one. Okay, so, I'm gonna move that Pink House information is coming up, so I don't know if anybody is aware, or all people are aware that, there's gonna be a public conversation, so I'm just gonna read this. I was gonna be holding a public conversation for the Pink House on Monday, November 20th at 10:30 a.m. At Peter Hall. Senator Tarr is gonna be available there, along with Matt Hillman from the Parker River National Wildlife Refuge, to answer any questions that you may have. They wanna be, this is from Bruce's office, the Senator Tarr's office. We want to be very transparent with the ongoing conversations about the future of the Pink House, and we feel it is necessary to hold this open forum for the community. Please feel free to stop by Peter Hall if you have any questions. Below is the information about the Pink House and the public comment period that will end on November 30th. So the U.S. Fish and Wildlife is the current owner of the property at the Pink House. They purchased it in 2011. And they have since announced that they've opened up a comment period to take public comment regarding taking the building down, demolishing the building. So the 30-day period, 30-day window ends on November 30th. And I know that the town, I know that the group Save the Pink House has been working very hard to try to find a land swap to prevent that building from being demolished. Where the property resides within the town of Newbury, I thought it important that the town of Newbury submit a comment to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And quite frankly, our congressional, federal delegation as well, because they need to advocate on our behalf. So I composed this letter, I'll read it now. I would like to submit it to Seth Moulton's office, Elizabeth Warren's office, Ed Markey's office, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And it's regarding the Pink House. It is unfortunate for the town of Newbury to see an iconic cultural landmark situated at the gateway of Plum Island slated for demolition. Our housing stock in Newbury is extremely limited. This home could provide an opportunity for another family to move to Newbury, provide jobs during the restoration, and allow new residents to enjoy all our region has to offer. In addition to keeping the historic, well-loved home intact, by being privately owned, the property would once again generate tax dollars for our community. Newbury is currently looking at significant capital needs, including a permanent solution to our town hall and council on aging, 2 new schools, and upgrades to our elementary school. As you know, the housing crisis in the Commonwealth is dire. We implore all those involved, especially the federal delegation, to please find a solution to allow this home to return to the tax rolls, provide economic benefit to the region, continue to be a cultural and emotional landmark in the town of Newbury, and restore balance to our community. Sincerely, Alicia Greco, Select Board Chair. So this is the letter that I would like to, I'm entertaining a motion from the board. What happened to the people on my board?
I think Jeff needs to get some water.
Oh. So, I think this just encourages, oh, there's a typo right there, thank you. Encourages, Julie, in this letter, all our region has to offer is an H before AS. It's
Okay.
just, I dropped the A. Has to offer.
So this hasn't been sent yet.
No.
We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jeff is not. So I just think we need to encourage them to try to find a solution. They've been promising a land swap since they started in 2011. I'd like to encourage them to continue to do the same thing.
We don't even have a motion yet, right?
No, Jeff?
Yeah, because
Let's
Jeff's
come in
waiting for
now.
Jeff. Oh, here he is.
I make a motion that we endorse Alicia's well-written letter.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
You okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right,
Do we have anyone, has anyone stepped forward that's interested in buying this home and trying to make it a residence?
Well, Rochelle Josephson of Save the Pink House is here. Come on up, Rochelle. Can you come to the thing? And that's my understanding, there's been several properties that, but I'll let her speak to it.
I apologize that I still have to wear a mask, doctor's orders. Hi, I'm Rochelle Joseph, and thank you so much for having us and for writing this letter on behalf of Support the Pink House, 501c3. Yes, there is someone who has stepped forward. This is a very complicated thing for folks to understand, and we're sorry about that. We did not realize how complicated it would be to try to do this. And first of all, it cannot be sold. That's not how federal land can be disposed of, and there's several ways that we've been pursuing, but we've been encouraged to focus on land swap. And we've gotten into a signed agreement with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Several times we have worked for 2.5, 3 years with all of our elected officials, many people giving their time, and find that in the 11th hour, and in this last case, it was the 11th and 3/4 hour, the Fish and Wildlife side of the agreement fell through for one reason or the other. It is not up to us to provide land, but in this last agreement, they said this is what we do all the time. We'll find the land, you take the steps, which you know we did with the town, to survey the land, to create its own acre, to have architectural plans passed through the Concom and get a variance and all of those steps. So we completed all those with donor money. And we're ready to, and got a perpetual preservation restriction approved by Mass Historic to be held by our historical commission. The board here, selectmen, did agree to that, and everybody was very happy last August, thinking this was going to happen, and suddenly their land that they had, the seller pulled out. And we have tried to, they have not been able to successfully procure several parcels they've found since. Probably because of the climate of, well, anyway, who knows why. There's lots of different processes and things, but it is a dilemma in terms of who would be stepping forward to purchase this house, so to speak, because it can't be purchased. There is a restoration partner who came forward 4.5 years ago and has stood by, committed to this project. No matter how many times it has fallen through, no matter how much building costs have raised, the cost of labor to do it have raised, how much the house has been allowed to go downhill, which is really a shame considering we are doing all of this work for this asset of our town. And he has stood by and he would provide the money that is the elevated worth of this acre and the house as it continues to go downhill and has been declared surplus, as well as restoring it himself, both externally and internally, with his own money, according to our perpetual preservation restriction. So there has been someone waiting. And, you know, some people have written over the years to offer, many people wish to own the house, but someone has to come in and put some money into restoring it so that then can be lived in. So that person is waiting, that is not a problem.
But we don't have a land swap person.
A
Correct.
person with land, yes, but the thing is, the idea that all of that has been exhausted is not true. They have never put it
I
out.
understand that.
Gotcha.
But right now on the table, we do not have a person that's willing to swap the land, and that's the only way that we can get it out of the federal government's hands?
Not the only way, no, but there isn't, right now, we have lost several, we've had several lined up, I mean, in this deal, the Fish and Wildlife and whatnot, they have not been able to successfully procure that. So it's not that it's not out there. Now, it was never put out to the public. There are other ways that we found that the federal, acquired federal lands can be disposed of. And one of which is a cooperative agreement with a town or state. Another is for that would involve our federally elected officials to have them help a congressional decree of some kind, an act of Congress. Or the Secretary of State would declare it surplus. And those are ways that we reached out to the federal delegation in August to ask to explore. Why have we only been, geared towards land swap? What does, and I called the governor's office too, and just tried to figure out what does a cooperative agreement with the state or local town mean? Haven't found answers, and so reached out to Moulton, Markey and Warren's offices who have been involved and helped in the past to say, can we have a conversation? And we didn't hear anything back. And fast forward about 8.5 weeks, and we heard from Fish and Wildlife, and maybe we ought to have a meeting about next steps. And let's get the congressional delegation there. And we thought, okay, well, maybe this is our meeting. And when we arrived, we learned of their plans to demolish it and put out a press release that next morning and put something on their website. So we're very happy to know that we're grateful to Senator Tarr for stepping in and to have a meeting in the public. And we would hope that Fish and Wildlife the congressional delegation would step forward and help with these other options that require their help, and or that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife would put out their specific criteria and put it out to the public to see if someone could come forward. So that's what we hope that will happen. And their criteria has gotten narrower over the years, so we want to make it, hope that it will be more accomplishable.
I think, I just want to say, I think, as I used the term before, I think that this issue is out of our wheelhouse. I think that it is an issue between the will of the people, which is what's going to happen at this meeting, and the federal government is really what this issue, in my opinion, is all about. And from what you just said, and correct me if I'm wrong, the whole idea of it becoming a taxable asset for the town of Newbury is pretty much slim to none. Because if Newbury owns it, or if the state owns it, it would have to be owned by someone, a resident that was gonna live there before it'll become a taxable piece of property.
Right.
Correct?
Right. But the,
So someone's restoring it to be a livable home, so that would be how you get there.
they have somebody that wants to
Actually,
do
what it was, Dana, is, you know, taking a responsible position for maybe town leadership, where we have a lot of expenses coming up, such as Whittier and Triton, and that type of a house, you know, restored would probably be valuable. It's kind of a funny spot for the refuge to have to own land anyway. It's totally,
for a building.
or a building, it's just totally abstracted.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could go back in history, it's like, what did they pay $375,000 for it in the first place?
Well, we're trying to stay above that in some respects and just at least go along with the fact that, you know, it's a shame to lose that taxable land and just have something torn down that could be, if the federal leadership can help. I don't think, I can't speak for the refuge, but I don't think the refuge really wants it, you know, either, but, you know, so that's what Alicia's
So
letter
there's a
said.
public comment period opening.
I know,
Right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
So that's the purpose, and that's why this letter was written, to submit comments. I know that the city of Newburyport.
But this,
submitted
but we're not the public, we're the select board, and.
Well, we are a public body.
Right, but I mean, the public, I don't believe the public comment piece of this picture was set up for us to make a determination on what should happen to this house. Again, I gotta fall back on it, I think it's the will of the people against the National Wildlife Refuge.
Yeah, but this isn't, this is just imploring those involved to find a solution, not telling them what to do, just to find a solution to return the home to the tax rolls. It's all it is, what they promised to do in the beginning. We'll work, it's all, we're asking them to just find a solution. The city of Newburyport is submitting comments, I think. Other communities.
I know, I read that, I almost brought the article in the newspaper in today about what the city council is doing. They're gonna be, I guess they have 3 members, and they're gonna be presenting it to City Hall in the next couple of days for a determination on what they're gonna, how they're gonna move forward with this.
Well, this piece of property resides wholly in the town
In the
of
town of
Newbury.
Newbury, I understand.
And, so,
First of all, I just wanted to inform you that last night that motion was unanimously passed, that resolution, by the town of Newburyport, because they wanted to support Newbury. And as also, tonight, the selectmen of Salisbury are doing the same, and Amesbury as well. So I think it's a beautiful show that the neighboring towns are wanting to support this letter from the town of Newbury in which the Pink House resides. And, you know, I think that's terrific, so.
Did you send this draft letter out to the surrounding communities so they could view it before? Okay, that's the way we just sent it.
yeah, no, they have their own resolutions they're sending in.
If I could make a couple of
Yes,
comments? You suggested that a land swap would be, now, from what I understand, there was a party that was willing to go forward with a land swap, but they were denied.
Can you be more specific? What was it, Fish and Wildlife who denied it?
It was a person that owns a piece of property down there. He's a farmer, Mr. Colby, and he owns a piece of property and was willing to do a land swap. That he was informed that that wouldn't come to fruition. So
Probably wasn't enough acreage, you know, so whatever reason, so.
There's a certain valuation that.
But nobody else has come forward with that, so just, you know.
Oh,
just-
no, there was somebody from Virginia that had land they were gonna swap.
Pennsylvania, Virginia,
Pennsylvania, there's been a
and
lot of
our
people.
market.
But nobody else has stepped forward on the land swap, so.
Because no
And it's
one
been
has-
how much time? That's, you know,
Leslie,
taking
no one
that.
has known about it. That's the thing. It hasn't been put out to the public. I know that Matt Hillman, the refuge manager, did speak to Bob Colby because they formed a relationship because the boundary lines of the 3 parcels, the pink house that come with the pink house, are all bordered by Bob Colby. Everyone thinks that's the refuge, and in fact, it's all Bob. So Matt was interested in some land he had, but it needs to reach, according to them, a certain valuation, monetary value, and a certain percent. So all I can think of is, because Matt was saying, gee, I would love to have some of this land that Bob has. And he said that, Bob wasn't interested. He did not mention that there was land that he turned down. And the only thing I can think of is what's being suggested. But it'd be nice to go find out.
Didn't the Fish and Wildlife go in there? I mean, isn't one of the propositions that they had made to take the house down and put up, they originally wanted to use the house for staff, but decided that it was not worthy of being renovated because of all the problems that it had. And one of the major problems that it has is that it continuously floods on a high moon tide.
I'm so happy to have you bring that up because I'd love to answer it. I've been in that house many a time, and with licensed contractors and builders, the first thing that we did when we were listening to the huge amount of people who said, please don't take that down, it matters. We said, gee, it's so easy for people to say it on social media, let's find out if the house is sound. And so from the attic all the way to the basement, it has been looked at by several people who said, well, I'll be darned, they really built them well. This house has no cracks in the foundation. The walls and windows are straight. There were no leaks in the roof. And any home that around here can have in the cinder block basement, which is, quite high and there's nothing in there, can have an inch or so of water or moisture if there's no one living in there, if there's no sump pump, which is an easy way to fix that. And over the years, we agreed to hook the electricity back up and run one in case that would be an issue. We've also offered to give a generator, and we have been declined on those. We have offered to have people who are licensed waive liability and go in and do whatever might be needed. As time was going on, winter after winter, we said it would be with donated materials and free of charge, and we were declined. Except for one time that they let one of our builder guys do a little something to the skirt and put some type of foam around the front porch window edges. And that was about in 2019 when we were working on a trade with Greenbelt. So I really do want to say that it is important to pay attention to what is factual. And there are many houses, I have the asbestos report, it is not riddled with asbestos. And there's only a certain type of asbestos that's really a problem if it is disturbed. And anybody today can take any one of the cottages that may have something of that amount and remediate it or remove it safely, including mold. There is no radon there, I've looked at that. There's no oil in the soil of any leakage from previous tanks. And so it is a house that you can go in and restore without a problem. It is still salvageable, and it's not riddled with contaminants and too unsafe to go into. I've been in there many a time, including last July, where there were 4 or 5 of us, Steve Sawyer, engineer, Craig Pacina, restoration partner, Eileen Graff, who's the architect, myself and Matt. Nobody was wearing masks. Nobody was, in trouble.
Now, do you have the valuation on that piece of property right now?
Yes, we do. It has had 2 appraisals. One was done by Greenbelt in 2019, where it came out to $500,000, which is, give or take, for a little more than an acre and the house itself. We hired the very same company, the very respected company, to do it again at our expense, $5,000, 3 months. It's not a normal residential house anymore where you can do $600 in 3 days, get your appraisal. And that came out to about $425,000, give or take. And so since then, the Department of the Interior has said that the house could be technically surplus, so perhaps that would come off the top, even if it was only $25,000. But it's in that rough range of 425.
If
That
you
was, by
do-
the way, 2.5 years ago.
Have you been given a cost of, an estimate cost of what the renovations would actually be in dollar amounts?
No, it's tough to say, it depends on what you put inside, do you know what I mean? How nice you would make it, or what type of material you would choose, but it could be, I mean, it's hard to say now that it has been allowed, it has not been very well taken care of over time. And it could have been better taken care of, so maybe that would cost a little more. And also, especially with COVID, over time, building materials and labor cost more, so I couldn't say, but it could be, you know, anywhere from $250 to $300 up to $500,000. It just depends on what someone wants to do.
If you were to renovate it, and the cost of it for renovation exceeds 50% of the valuation, wouldn't you have to go up to code and put it on pillars?
You know, I am not renovating it, and nor is Support the Pink House, so I don't have answers to stuff like that, but I'm doing my best. I appreciate all your interest in it.
I think that's all I have right now.
Do you think this letter that Alicia has is valuable and should be sent out, in your opinion?
It would be very valuable.
Thank you.
We very much appreciate it, and all the people are very touched that this would happen.
Well, I think it sits wholly within the town of Newbury. I think it's an iconic asset to the town of Newbury. I think there was a promise made to try to swap that land to keep that saved, and I just think that to say nothing, silence is deafening, and I think that it would be great if we could find a solution to that and bring it back and have a family live there again. I think, I'm not quite sure I believe it could happen, but I may as well, you know, I think for us to sit pat on this, I don't think it's appropriate.
Well, if we went forward with something like that, would you have to put a limitation of time on it?
It's not us. We're just.
Well, we don't know anything.
We're supporting what.
No, all I'm
Michelle is
saying
doing.
is I want you to stop, you know, continue to find a solution.
But in order to do that, should there, I mean, for these people to, you'd have to encourage them, and I think this is where some more education has to be taken place, so everybody exactly knows how deep the water is that they're jumping into.
Well, I think what she's talking about is education, that this property is even available. Because it hasn't even been made known that this, because it's a land
Leslie?
swap or it's something.
We were asked by our stakeholders every step of the way for the last 8 years to not make all of the information and what we were doing evident to stakeholders were saying, gee, you know, let us get further in this. We weren't comfortable with that. We would like the public to have known, but we were trying to respect the people that we were in partnership with and get this done. So we really are happy now that people can ask us questions. We're happy to answer. You know, we've done everything with 100% integrity. And we've done it all for no personal gain. We've done it for the incredible amount of our neighbors and the people in this community, the district, and now the state and the visitors to the state that value this house and want to see it stay there. So I've got a romantic heart, and I've given every hour of my free time and more. And so is a very devoted group of people, and so have more than 35 professionals, and so has this town and everybody on the committees. And so has Greenbelt and trustees and all kinds of Mass Historic. Everybody has worked to try to help this happen. I think that's a pretty big statement of its value. Not everyone has to agree. Not everybody has to love it. Some people say it's an eyesore, but it won't be if it's restored. But if it's gone, you can't get it back. And there's no price you can put on our heritage here in New England. We value these things, and it's part of our community. So I just stepped in to save it because I bought a home here. I made Newbury my home. That's why.
So we have a motion on the table?
I just have one, I'm gonna reiterate what I said earlier. Yeah, we've got a motion, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You do.
I think this is out of our wheelhouse. And I think that so, you know, in endorsing, this, for me to endorse this letter, I'm speaking for the entire town. And I'm sure that you're gonna have, I don't know the numbers, but I'm just guessing that there's probably just as many people that don't have the passion for this house that you have as there is that do. And I think that the meeting that's gonna take place on November 20th, I think a lot of that is gonna come, it's gonna come to the forefront, and we're gonna learn at that meeting, you know, where the passion stands and how the citizens of Newbury feel about this house.
What impact does it have on the citizens of Newbury if someone buys this house? I don't understand your
Bill,
logic.
Bill,
I
Bill.
don't understand your logic.
Well, Bill, you can't, I don't want you asking me any questions at a board meeting, okay?
Okay.
So I'm gonna say that.
So,
But
I don't
all I'm saying, I'm being honest, and all I'm saying is that I am not gonna endorse this letter. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just curious, is there something, it's interesting that surrounding towns would be supportive of this because they recognize that, hey, a good deal of the people want this and some people don't, but it kind of doesn't affect people who don't. No one's money is going into it. If
I'm not
anything,
gonna be
you know,
influenced by anybody else,
Just was curious.
about my vote or how I feel.
I respect
All right, so I don't care if the entire country is endorsing this.
I
What I
respect it.
just said is what I feel,
That's
and it's my vote.
agreed.
But
Agreed.
And Alicia, I feel that although it is a well-written letter, it is not everybody's opinion that sits on the board, that how you feel. And if you sign the letter, you're saying that those people that may be opposed are saying yes.
So do you have your handbook that you got when you were elected to office? You have
Yes.
it, okay. If you read the beginning of that handbook, there's a section that says you work as a collaborative board. You got it, Dana, right?
Yep,
And you're not gonna always agree on things. Jeff, do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, Phil, do you understand what
read
I'm
it.
saying? And you're a 5-member board, and you don't always agree to go the same way. But when the board makes a vote, and the majority of the board goes for it, let's say the motion passes, you're supposed to get behind the vote of the board, even though you voted against it. If you read your book,
Of
and
course.
same thing for the other way, when the board votes to go down and you advocate for something, and the board votes to decline that, you may be very sorry, because you believe in your heart of hearts that that was the right thing to do. But the board voted to go in another direction, and you may not like that, but as a deliberating body, the way that a select board was built in this country from years ago, that's how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to get behind the vote of the board. Because one person doesn't want to do it, doesn't mean the whole board is gonna vote no. And that's what you're saying. That's not how democracy works.
I think before we get, it's also how Dana might have read the letter, or Leslie, you might too. I mean, for me, my constituency in a lot of ways has asked me to step forward. You know, Michelle and all the team asked me 8 years ago to be on the committee, and I was on for a while, and I kind of fell off. And I work with the refuge all the time. That's my partner on the march, that's what I do, so I understand both sides. And I read the letter, and while I'll vote for the letter, is a last-ditch effort to either have a solution or don't have a solution.
Well, it's a solution that will put a piece of property on our tax rolls. That's what I'm looking for.
And I'm asking for the federal delegation or whoever to, one way or the other, it's lasted a long time, it's lasted 8 years, and it's coming down, so just
I
one
mean,
last ditch effort.
I have no grandiose illusions that my letter is gonna save that thing. I mean, I really don't. I think that the town of Newbury should, where the building is located in the town of Newbury, we should have an opinion. That's leadership. Sometimes you need to have an opinion.
And-
When Alicia, when the letter came up, it's, taking something off the tax rolls
When they said they were gonna accept comment period, that's when I said, we have to send in a comment. That's,
But why, let's have a vote.
and advocate to bring, more monies onto the tax, but anyway, so what's the motion on the?
Jeff moved to endorse sending the Pink House letter to Marky Moulton, Warren and US Fish and Wildlife, and Bill seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote no.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, thank you. The ayes have it. We'll submit the letter. Thank you. Okay, so next, liquor license fees. Okay, so the town hasn't raised its liquor license fees since, Julie, do you know that number?
Yeah, the most recent I could find information was 2006. I found they were still the same, so it's been 20 years.
20 years.
Close to 20 years.
So I asked Julie to
Same fee.
just pull together a spreadsheet about this, with the surrounding communities and anything she could find online. We don't have everything here, it would be too much data anyways.
I have to find that spreadsheet, I'm sorry. It's in here somewhere.
The printed one I gave you in 11 by 17, so it'll be a
Yeah,
little bit bigger.
I have, I do have it.
Okay.
I just had to
You
find
found it
it.
out a minute ago.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so, there's a couple things going on here. We have to have, let's look at all these prices. But then we also need to add, we've had a request for.
Cordial.
Yeah, malt, liquor, and wine, malt, and cordials.
Yeah.
So, we've had a request from a business in town to have that license. We don't have that license. So we need to vote that license so that we have
A fee.
and be able to give them the ability to sell cordials with malt and wine.
If I could ask, what's the difference in definition between alcohol and cordial?
If you look up here,
No, the definition of alcohol and
cordials aren't as heavy alcohol as
But they're
an
alcoholic
alcohol.
beverages.
So
and they're
is it
in a-
wine and malt?
Wine is a category, malt is a category.
And cordial is a category in the Commonwealth.
Okay.
See up here? Liquors with cordials, wine, malt, and cordials. Wine, malt, liquors, and cordials.
There's a lot of different categories.
No, I was unaware of them.
Yeah. Oh, this is how we won. So anyways, that's the story. So we need to vote that. But if we want to, do we want to start with the package?
Just back,
Yeah.
when you say we need to vote that, what did you mean by what?
We have a business in town that wants a wine, malt, and cordial license.
Yep, that's
So
one
we
up
need
here,
to,
yep,
we need
yep.
to vote that, but let's wait till we look through all of these licenses. So the first one is the package store malt and wine. Town of Newbury currently is at $700. The surrounding communities you can see here, most people are between 1,000 and 1,500. Newburyport's 3,000, but I think that's a little bit high. We're 700. I think we should go up a little bit on this.
Amesbury's only 600,
I know.
and they're a city, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, they are. They are.
I think what it is, if you look at it, and depending on how much the board decides to raise it, and it's kind of a real categorical cutoff, but then again, it changes, because I think of, I'm looking at Essex, and Essex has a lot of restaurants, and I'm looking at Raleigh, and Raleigh might have some industry, and they have some restaurants, so I mean, it's just, It's how
Yeah.
rural, in some ways, it's how rural and how,
So,
you know.
right, so if you
urban-
look at the
urban
first line, this isn't restaurant licenses. All alcohol restaurant is another category. This is just package
But
stores
I
for
mean,
malt and
I'm
wine
saying
only.
how developed is your town almost, how.
Well, I
how
think we
many
need
you
to
have.
look, right, and I think we need to look at the communities around us rather than to Pembroke or Northampton.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
good to have this data here, but I think if we looked at the surrounding, Raleigh for package store malt and wine, Raleigh is 800. Georgetown is 900.
Salisbury's at the top.
Salisbury's 1,250. Amesbury is 600. Newburyport is 3,000. And Newbury's at 700. So, I don't know,
Well, we've talked a lot about, tax revenues and, the businesses in our, we don't have we just went through the, what is it, like 93% or something of our, of our revenue comes from residential folks, so I would hate to make a decision that would possibly drive a business out of our town.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't think we should double them.
That's a consideration, I
Right,
think.
it definitely is. And I don't like to burden during COVID, when we had COVID, you weren't on the board then, we voted to waive the liquor license fees for them 1 year because
Nice.
they were so
Yeah.
hard. But, especially the restaurants, because liquor stores remained open, so we didn't waive their fee.
Right.
But the restaurants that were closed, we waived their fee.
So everybody pays these fees every year, once a
Once a
year,
year.
correct? Yeah.
So I'm just thinking we should go up a little bit. So in Newbury, I would entertain a motion to raise the fee in Newbury for package store, malt and wine from 700 to 900. That would be on par with Georgetown. What do you think of that?
That's.
Just a couple $100.
I mean, I think what you're basically looking why be the lowest of any of our surrounding towns?
Right.
Why aren't we more on par with our surrounding towns?
Well, even,
But then you look at Georgetown and, they pop up,
they're 900.
yeah, but then you look at the package store, all alcohol, and then they're only 800 there. Then they drop down to 900 for restaurants and, we're 1,000, yikes. So you can't really look, we're probably low, maybe come up,
Well, we don't have to do anything with them either.
yeah,
We haven't looked at them in 20 years.
Right, no, I get it, yeah.
And I think we need to look at it.
you could almost say raise them 10% or 15% or something.
Oh, I like even numbers.
Well, instead of, we could do, like, just go across the board and say, we're gonna go up $100 across the board. I think,
Like that.
you know what I mean, just.
You could do that.
Just right across the board, you had a motion on the table, I don't think anybody seconded it yet.
It's not about,
No, I didn't move it.
But
I just threw it
Dana,
out there.
if you had the wine and malt club and you're going up $100, suddenly that's a lot of money. So maybe do something.
Okay, so that's the one that's sitting
That's
at
at
400 right now?
Crazy is something like
That's,
10, raise
actually,
them,
that's a good point.
raise them 10% or something.
That's a really good point.
Because we're behind the times, maybe 20% is too much, but 10% or something, or then maybe craft each one.
Does this say that Newbury's the only place that has a wine and malt club?
Sounds.
the ones that I could find, yeah. In the list that I have there.
So, we could go up $100 and only go up 50 on that one. I just think we should go up something.
Jeff, what do you think about going up 50 on the wine and malt club? Easy
I'm
for me
fine
to
with
say.
150 on that one, yeah, I'm fine.
No,
Going
50,
up
50.
No, I said that, 50, yeah, and 100 on the rest.
And 100 on the rest?
You know what? What the heck?
So are we thinking for the package store malt and wine from 700 going to 800? And then from package store all alcohol from 1,000 to 1,100? From all alcohol restaurants 1,000 to 1,100? Is that what we're thinking?
Mm-hmm.
All alcohol in holder 1,000 to 1,100? All alcohol club, we don't have any of those? Julie?
No, we don't.
Okay. Wine and malt club, we have 400, so you wanna do that 450?
450, you said.
And then wine and malt restaurant, 700, we wanna do 800? And then we would need a wine, malt, and cordials. Where do we wanna lie that? Do you
That's
want-
interesting, because what do we have? Is
We
it
don't
just,
have
we
it.
just have two
There
in that
wasn't,
column?
not many had cordials.
And what, okay, so Revere's $1,900 for that one, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then,
That's the
what is it,
city.
is this Situate is $1,350?
Yeah, there
Yeah.
weren't many that had cordials in their list.
That's kind of, well, both of those places are, that's kind of pricey, I think. You know,
Well, you know what, we don't know what they're charging for other things, it might be really cheap.
well, that's true, well, yeah, they don't have anything else, which is interesting.
No, they do, I just use that as I had two separate spreadsheets at one time, cause I was just doing the cordial part and then.
Yeah, I
put them
imagine
together.
they're higher on other things.
And this, the wine, malt and cordials, that's a store, that would be like a liquor store that is not allowed to sell hard liquor.
For Newbury, for our wine, malt, and cordials, it's gonna be a club. It is a club.
It's a club.
Yep, they wanna add cordials.
They have a
They
wine
have
and
the
malt.
wine and malt, they wanna add the cordial to their wine and malt.
See, wine, malt club, right now, they're paying 400.
Yeah.
They wanna go to
And we,
wine, malt,
we were
cordials.
gonna go to 450 on that one, right?
Oh,
Right.
hell, now go 100 then.
No,
But they wanna
would keep it,
change,
yeah.
they wanna change from wine, malt to wine, malt,
And add a
cordial.
cordial.
Oh, so this is the same group?
Yeah,
Oh, that's moving over here?
yeah,
That's why I'm saying,
We
go
would-
full
You
100
would
now.
wanna keep it, you'd wanna keep wine and malt, still
yeah, we
keep
still
it.
have to keep
And you're just
that.
gonna add another category.
Alright, well, I,
You wanna make it 500?
No.
I was gonna say make them both the same, make them both
Make 'em
four
both the
four
Going
fifty.
once.
We're making, wine malt club is now at 450, correct?
Well, if we vote
Right.
that, yeah,
Right,
and then.
I would say
wine,
add-
malt, and cordials.
it doesn't, I don't think it makes a big difference, I don't think it should be a higher price, I don't know.
Well, let's think of one more, just suggestion to make it even worse.
Oh, God.
Everything that's 700, 100, everything that's 450, and everything that's 1,000, 200, but that's just for thought.
You're going with like a percentage. Yeah, so say that again?
Like, anything, as I just look at this, everything that's 700 is a $100 raise.
Okay.
The 400 is 50, and the 1,000 ones are 200.
Is a $200 raise, so what are you gonna do with the cordials?
It's only gonna be the 450.
It'll be 450 on the cordials.
I'm okay with that.
I'm
And it
okay
kind of
with-
brings us into the 2023, you know?
So you wanna do
Hey,
1,200?
you're the guy with all the wisdom here, I'll go with that.
We're doing 1,200 for the 1,000 instead?
That doesn't say a lot for us.
Yeah.
1,200, so the thousands are gonna go to 1,200, the 700s
Go
are
to
gonna go to
800.
800, and then the 400s
Goes
are
to
gonna go to
450.
450, and we'll add the wine malt cordial for
For
450.
450, okay.
How do you want a motion?
Jeff, you move it.
I make a motion that the stores and inn holders, et cetera, that remain at 1,000 will go up $200. The ones that are 700 will go up 100, and the ones that the wine and malt and cordials that are at 400 will be 450.
Well, I'm gonna take those separately, so I think we have to create the wine malt. So let's just go up on these first, then we'll
Okay.
create the wine malt. So,
Good
You got
amendment.
that, Julie?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
On creating the cordial,
No, no,
No,
No,
on
this is
what
going
Jeff
up
just
on the
said.
prices, the fees.
yeah, I'll,
You're gonna second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I think it's
fair.
I think it's fair. I think it's good to go up a little bit.
Long overdue.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Now, I'll entertain a motion to create a new category of wine, malt, and cordials for the town of Newbury with a fee of $450.
I'll make a motion that for wine, malt, and cordials, license fee should be $450.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Okay. Well, that was faster than I thought.
I hope everyone's gone to bed.
Okay, liquor license fees. Okay, Dana, do you have an update on the veterans tax abatement project?
I do, and I'm gonna make this quick. I'm gonna kind of go backwards in chronological order. On Friday, our governor submitted the HERO Act, and I have the fact sheet right here. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. It's amazing. It's a great advocacy for our veterans, disabled and the veterans. And I think that was a great thing to do. I pulled out a couple of, back when I started this Senate, and I don't even know what number this one is, there was only one bill that was being moved forward at the state level to enact increasing the property tax exemption for disabled veterans. I'm not sure where that went. Our town, we did it on our own and we pushed that forward. There's a couple of new bills on the floor right now. It's 3503 and 2310. They're both signed, they're co-signed by Bruce Tarr. And I just want to give him kudos for that. Representative Kasner, I want to make sure I got her name correct. She was at the luncheon at Peter Hall. She totally is supporting all of our veterans also. So I just want to throw kudos out to both of those folks. And then going further back, my letter that I handed to both of those folks back on March 23rd. It was during the DCC meeting that you and I were at. I think that they are they're doing whatever they can to try and in this letter is when I advocated that I think that the state, as we just talked about Whittier Tech, the state needs to step up and increase the reimbursements back to our town as we move, that exemption toward disabled veterans. And I'm like you with, I'm not gonna let that go. I'm gonna keep pushing for that, and it's I think it's a ways away, but I think that's the next step.
Nice, so you're making progress. Okay.
I'm making progress. And last but not least, I wanna make sure, I have cards in my pocket. You wanted it up at the end, and I know we gotta vote on the meeting minutes and stuff, but we do have a brand new VSO. It's Steve Bohn, B-O-H-N. I'm probably not pronouncing this thing. He came from Seth Moulton's office. He was the veterans caseworker in District 8 for Seth Moulton is where he came from.
So that's the new person?
He's the new VSO. He's taking Karen Tyler's spot in Ipswich. And I'm sure you wouldn't mind if he came in and spoke to us as.
Great.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can, I know he's gonna come and speak to us, so in some future select board meeting, we can put that on the
Yeah,
agenda.
we'll schedule it when we don't have a packed agenda.
Right. And then at the luncheon, there was an organization, it's the Veterans Northeast Outreach Center. It's in Haverhill, and there was a couple of gals there that they gave a great briefing about just additional things that they do to help our veterans in need, disabled, homeless. don't have food, all of the above. And so they came to our luncheon too and made a nice little, presentation, I should say.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Steve already came to the Council on Aging and sat with Cindy
Ah,
Yes,
last week, yeah.
he did.
okay.
And this is not a question, Dana. There was a hearing yesterday from 1 to 5 in the State House for the two bills, House 3503 and S 2310. That was the announcement for the hearing.
Oh,
They asked for testimony from people, from citizens. Here's the testimony that I mailed to them.
cool, thank you.
I hope somebody from Essex, from that group, sent testimony in as well.
Well, Steve is on top of all this stuff.
Great.
So, I can share that with him, and I appreciate you doing this.
Good. Okay, so next we have a letter from Comcast regarding changes, oh no, I'm skipping over the town administrator's report. That's very important. Tracy, sorry, the late night.
That's okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to provide a brief update on the Newbury Elementary School loss, which you may
Yeah.
recall occurred back in July. Our insurance provider, Maya, has approved the claim. So the damage to the ceiling will be addressed. The air quality testing has been performed by the district. The project is currently staged. They estimate it'll take 3 days to do all the demolition and probably 2 weeks to complete the project. So, that's a good thing that Maya's picking it up because it had a project cost, it was estimated somewhere around 80,000, and I think it's increasing from there, so. The fire department, I just wanted to report to you that we now have finally a full complement of firefighters. We've got 6 full-timers. We had received the grant funding to hire 2, and then we hired them, and then 2 left.
Right.
So now we're back up to 6. We also received the State Fire Marshal's Office sent us their delegation of authority, vesting it in Chief Evans, so that's all official now. Our grant application for the bridge on River Street over the Parker River has been approved, our small bridge program application, so we'll be working with Mass DOT to assist us in developing the plans and the design quickly and efficiently. It's a pretty good program and we've benefited quite significantly from this. So they'll do all the design procurement process. They take care of all of it with designers that the state has hired.
Where is that face?
River Street. ARPA fund requests, I had brought to your attention a few meetings ago, the issue at the library with the playground.
Yeah.
So the DPW went out and got quotes to replace the failing parts, and the quote for replacement was $18,714.23. The quote for a brand new playground is $17,600 even. So he has put in a request to use ARPA funds to replace the playground equipment that is now, all of it is over 30 years old. So I need a vote of the board if you support
What does that do for our opera?
So next select board meeting, we're going to have a presentation from the IT director. Right now, we have a significant amount of funds committed to, I can't remember the name of the project. No, to an IT project. I'm sorry, it's late.
No, is that the one when they were?
And he's going to reduce that amount, so by adding this in, reducing that, we'll probably end up having about $860 some odd dollars left in ARPA, if this should be approved.
Okay.
So as you remember, each time a project is completed, you approve it for 20,000, they complete it for 18. So that money goes back into the pot, and then
Right.
you can reappropriate it up until December 31st
Next year, right?
next year. So you wanna, we keep a close eye on it, cause we don't wanna lose that money, we wanna
Right.
make sure Newbury takes advantage of every penny.
That's right. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion. To
Use the opera funds for to replace playground equipment on the library.
$17,600 in our.
Motion made.
Any further discussion?
No second motion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's late.
I know.
It's late.
We're all asleep.
No discussion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, okay.
It's the fiber optic program.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what.
That's
A little slow,
And
but
he's
thank
got,
you.
he wrote a big, they
Yes.
wrote a big grant for that.
So,
Yeah, that was like $300,000 or something?
yeah,
Grant.
so he'll
And it's
be,
gonna come in under, is what you're saying?
he's gonna come in and propose some amendments to the project.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention to the board at a meeting is that the administration is now working with, John Guilfoyle of JGPR to help us with, strengthening our community communications and to ensure that, well, one thing that I think is very important is to ensure that town hall becomes a trusted source of factual-based
Bravo.
information.
Bravo.
We have, in the past, numerous times, the select board has discussed, community concerns about engagement and not feeling like they're getting enough communication pushed out from town hall. So I thought this was, given the fact that we've had about a 7-year relationship with Guilfoyle, that now might be a good opportunity for us to use them in a different manner, primarily for public relations. So anytime something's going on, this meeting here tonight, we put it out to them, they do all the drafting. It has final approval by the town, and then they send it out to all of the news sources. Our IT director is responsible for posting it on our website and through our social media. He does not write
He doesn't create
the
it.
copy,
He-
he
he
doesn't
posts it.
create it, right. They would create it, we would post it. So anything, like the small bridge grant, you know, I sent him a copy of the letter that we got from the state, things that are going on, the fire chief search, I think we got some press on that. Any boards or committees that you're serving on, like, for example, tonight, the discussion about, the new, VSO, we'll send them out that, so that we would get some additional news coverage, because quite frankly, we don't have anybody in town hall that has the time to be sitting down and doing those
And
types
that's
of
been
things.
a consistent source of angst that I've heard, is that, you know, you need to communicate better, you need to
Well, we've talked
communicate
about
better.
it a lot over the years,
Yeah.
for sure, but.
And I think it's wonderful.
So, we have a contract with him now?
15,000, so they sent us an invoice, yes.
And is that a year, 15,000 a year?
Yes.
And it's gonna be, is it, what's the length of the contract?
1 year. You
1 year,
can-
so it's gonna be renewable every year?
So you can see what happens if you get commentary that people think, oh, wow, this is really great, we're seeing more, or if they feel, oh, we're still complaining about communication, then, you know, I don't know what other approach we could consider, but
And this money's gonna come from where?
professional and technical services.
Perfect, okay, so it's in the budget? Nice.
And this is like an open end, so there's no cutoff for how many press releases?
Yeah, there is. I think we could do 14 a month. I'll have to look at the
Wow,
proposal.
14 a month?
Something like that. Yeah, it was.
There's not enough going on in this town for 14 a month.
They can find something. The Boy Scouts met.
Yeah. Yeah, so if, you know, there's anything in particular that maybe doesn't get brought up at a meeting that you would like to see,
I mean, so can it be anything outside of town hall? I mean, just thinking about like wreaths across America is.
that's up to you. I mean, it's a municipal town expenditure.
And the Boy Scouts, they're the ones who basically, you
Well,
brought the Boy
that,
Scouts.
that was already in the paper. That's already hit.
Okay, I didn't know if they were
Did it?
behind that, or, but is it on our website, so I guess that's, you know, does everything that goes out to newspapers go to the IT?
That's the goal of doing this. So what would happen is they'd give it to us in a file that we can just post on our town website and then blast out through the town social media.
So we have to be very careful about using taxpayer funds, which is what our budget is, for advocating for.
There's no
things.
advocacy, that's just information.
Right, the things that's not for the town hall, you know, not town, it's gotta be just fact-based. It can't be, you know,
Well, are you gonna be, you'll be our filter? Are you gonna be?
no, she's the filter.
You're the filter, but, well, yeah.
She's the chief procurement officer, so in other words, you
Yeah.
can't say that, you know, this local nonprofit is having a
Luncheon today or something, yeah.
Well, not even
You
that.
can't
it's
say vote yes for Whittier projects. You have to be very careful and, you know, cautious.
But not only that, but, or like, you know, my store is having a sale, can you put it out to things like that?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be relative to
Right.
municipal.
Well, I mean, as long as, I would say that, I love the idea, and I think that, as long as you're gonna be the filter, then.
Well, she's the chief.
Right, no, but I'm just saying that we can
Yeah, that's it.
suggest whatever we want, and you can make the final decision on whether it's gonna go or not.
Yeah.
How would that be, like?
I work for you.
But I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna be reaching out to this PR guy all by myself on my own. I mean, yeah.
Well, and this PR guy is gonna say, I can't do that too.
Yeah, they're
He's
pretty
gonna,
good. They know what they're
it's not
doing.
gonna be just Tracy,
They
he's
know what they're
gonna
doing.
say,
He
I
works-
can't do
it-
that.
This company works with everybody
Yeah.
around us.
He's gonna say,
He works with
I'm crossing the
Georgetown,
line
Newbury,
there.
Raleigh, they work with everybody, and they've worked with us for years.
I think it will just help us to get fact-based information out in a timely manner so that, you know, it'll help people ultimately make it.
Yeah, and the people can rely on the source and not go to, you know, Google and source information on, especially in social media, which we know is not true. So, okay, so I think it's great. Anything else, Grace?
Yes, so I have some good news. Free cash has been certified. Our 2023 books have been closed and the Department of Revenue gave us our certification numbers. So we certified at $3,466,324. The majority of that is unexpended from last year's free cash, which was a little bit over 2 million, I think 2.3 million. So basically, as the select board considers and deliberates on what we're gonna do for a permanent location for our municipal operations, whatever that may be, we'll need to look closely at the amounts that we've already got committed, our reserves that we've got committed, and how you wanna see them allocated in the future. So it just, something to think about as we move forward with the 2025 budget goals
cycle, yeah.
and throughout the cycle. The COA van, the new van has arrived. I don't know if you saw it when you came in. It looks great. And the director, Cindy Currier, has invited all of you for a ride on November 21st at 3 p.m. You don't have to be a senior to ride in it, just saying. So you're all invited for that little trip. And then with good news always comes very bad news. I have accepted the resignation of Julie O'Brien, who will be leaving us as of November 30th. It's always been a pleasure working with Julie, and I do hope our paths will cross again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, good luck.
Bittersweet, but thank you. It's been my pleasure
Well,
too.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. That's all I've got.
See, that's why I don't like surprises.
I know, right?
Okay.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank
If I don't get another opportunity, I'm sure I will.
You make the bus ride even more fun, Julie.
Julie has been a real, what's the word I wanted?
And it was late.
I know,
Asset
it's
to the
like-
board. How
Thank you
long?
for your
No, she's been like something that I lean
A
on.
good sounding board.
Yes, a good sounding board, you know,
Yeah.
somebody that,
can rely on.
yes, and that helps me, and she's been great.
She's been happy too.
Very approachable.
Yeah,
Well, thank you, I appreciate
people come in,
that.
they're happy to see her, they like to talk to her, so.
I like to talk to them too.
I know. Your personality has been great for this.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, so we have some correspondence, a letter from Comcast, it's really quick, I'll read it. We are committed to keeping you and your customers informed, you and our customers informed about changes to Xfinity TV series. Accordingly, please note the following, effective December 12, 2023, AXS TV HD channel 783 will no longer be available, and AXS TV HD channel 1613 will require an X1 TV box and Xfinity Internet or a compatible customer-owned device to view. HD programming requires the HD technology fee. Please do not hesitate to contact Kerry_Morris at Comcast.net for any questions. Okay, so meeting updates. Dana, you already gave us the VSO hire update. Do we have any of the meetings? Did you guys have a DCC meeting?
No.
No, it's been canceled.
Yeah, November got
Did you have
canceled.
one in October,
Say it again.
previous? Did you already have one?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
did-
but, you know, nothing. So, I mean, not.
It was like a 50-50 split, I think you could say, because there was a lot of discussion about Whittier as well as there was Triton, and the elementary school got a little bit of a nod, but not too much.
Okay. I have an update. I had I met today with the alternative assessment group from Rowley. Erica and I met with Brian Forget and Kyle, the business manager over there, and Rowley and Salisbury, and we agreed that this is not the right time to discuss an alternative assessment, and we're gonna put this baby to bed for now, because we have too much, the math is crazy. And between Whittier and the thing that's coming down the pike with Triton, we couldn't sell it, and I think other communities agreed. I couldn't stand at town meeting, on town meeting floor, and try to sell something that was alternative, that looked like crazy, so that's asleep for now. Martha Taylor has graciously extended an invitation for the select board from the planning board to have a joint meeting on December 6th?
6th.
At 7?
At 7.
7 p.m. to discuss.
MBTA communities, multifamily zoning.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's fun, and a paycheck too. Multifamily zoning. Should be fun. So we all make that meeting? Jeff's not here.
Regular meeting night?
Regular meeting night, yeah, so the board, well, should I get up and say anything?
Yeah, well, Jeff's in the bathroom, but I think he's in Jeff's left the building. Elvis has left the
He
building.
made a run for it.
December 6th?
Sorry, Marcus, wait.
That's a Wednesday.
Yeah, it's a planning board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can make that, I think.
12/7 again, right?
Yeah, at 7 o'clock. It's a regular planning board meeting, but if you all are able to come, then that would be the only subject on the agenda.
And it's gonna be virtual?
Actually, we're thinking that it would be good to be in person.
Okay.
We had an in-person workshop yesterday with staff from MVPC. We're working on this with them. They're our technical consultant for MBTA communities, and it was really helpful just to sit in the same room and talk about all this stuff. So I think that would be the proposal, but I'll confirm.
Jeff, we have a joint meeting with the planning board on December 6th. It's on a Wednesday. Do you need to look at your calendar, or can you make it?
Is it just normal?
It's MBTA communities.
Okay, is this something that we're doing a lot now?
What is it, Martha? We kind of we're gonna be hitting the wall as far as our quota is concerned to add additional housing in town.
Well, so-
Multifamily might be the fastest way to increase our percentage.
Well, this is related to the legislation that was passed a couple of years ago by the state, requiring all MBTA communities.
I knew you were gonna say that, the MBTA.
Yeah, the MBTA.
To zone for a certain number of multifamily.
You were,
As an adjacent small town. we
I
have
remember
more
discussing that
towns.
about a year or so ago.
Right, so our action plan is to, basically has us taking this before town meeting next spring. Our deadline isn't until December of 2025, but the thought was if we take it before town meeting, if it passes, that's great, we're ahead of it. If it doesn't pass, then we have some time to do what needs to be done, revise it and take it back to meet our compliance deadline. So we've been working with MVPC on identifying, certain locations for districts in town, and that's what we'd really like to go over with you all.
And what is it, has to be within a certain distance?
For us, it doesn't, because we're an adjacent small town, we can locate it anywhere, it doesn't have to be within half a mile.
Oh, it doesn't.
What's the prescribed what are they looking for density?
So they're looking at 15 units per acre density, and that can be average across the districts, if we have more than one. And MVPC gave the planning board a presentation, they'll do an abbreviated version of that for all of us. And then we can get into the discussion of, what the thoughts are, in the hope that we can sort of come out of that with some thoughts on districts to move forward with.
So how many units per,
So it's 15 units per acre.
and up until what number is the minimum?
So our minimum is 154.
Yeah, that's what I wanted everyone to realize.
So what does this have to do with us not having sewer? How do we get to 15 house units?
Well, basically, all we need to do is zone for it. The town needs to zone for it. It will be up to a developer to figure out how to actually build these.
Gotcha. Pass the buck, okay.
Some locations we're looking at have, might have the potential for tying into Newburyport system, but that's not guaranteed either, but it would be up to the developer.
Okay. So it's on my calendar, so put it in your book, Jeff. 6th, December
Of December.
6th at 7 p.m. in person, right here. Okay,
Great, thank you very much.
thank you, Martha.
Thank you, Martha.
And I'm glad I remembered. Do we have review and approve minutes, draft meeting minutes from October 10th?
A motion to approve the meeting minutes for October 10th, 2023.
Mm-hmm. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Draft meeting minutes from October 17th?
Motion to approve, meeting minutes 10:17.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Motion to sign warrants, we got a list of them.
Before we go tonight,
Oh, hold on, before we have, well, let's just pass the motion, hold on. Motion to
Okay.
sign warrants,
so moved.
seconded,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Leslie has an update.
Yeah, we lost a good community member over the weekend, Jim Cunningham.
Oh.
Yes, he died suddenly. And, where he had been a constable for a long period of time, and he sat on the COMCOM for a while. So I just wanted to express our sympathies to the family, and he was a good man to have in your community.
He had a lot of knowledge, historical.
That makes me sad.
Historical knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
He wasn't helping, was he helping still at Spinair, or he left?
He has been residing out of town.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, you betcha.
Can't run off, you have things to sign.
Oh.